Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with Riv and Andrew Velez, and this is now episode 99. In this episode, we are going to talk about Game 3 of the NBA Finals, Chet Holmgren versus Victor Wembanyama, the Magic hiring Jamahl Mosley as a new head coach, and we will also talk about the recent rumors that have been circulating around the NBA. These rumors include the Rockets, Collin Sexton, Lonzo Ball, John Collins, and Ben Simmons. This is now episode 99. We're one away from 100, and just to let you guys know, we might not record episode 100 this week. We usually record one episode Tuesday and Thursday, but we are waiting from word of a guest that we are planning to have on the show that we want to be the 100th episode, and it's a big-time guest, so if we don't record another episode this week, that's why. But we are still trying to wait for confirmation, and hopefully it goes through because this would be big for us and for you guys. I think it would be an awesome collaboration. So, yeah, really excited for that. I appreciate everybody that's been writing reviews and rating our podcast on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate that a lot. And let's get right into the show because NBA Finals Game 3, the Bucks won 120-100. Giannis, 41 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 14 for 23, 13 for 17 from the free throw line. The Suns were in that game in the third quarter, and then the Bucks just completely obliterated them about halfway through the third quarter. Middleton had 18. Holiday had 21, shot 5 for 10 from the three. Booker was off, though. He had 10 points, 3 for 14, and Chris Paul had 19 points and 4 turnovers. And coming off Mikal Bridges' 20-point-per-game performance, he had 4 points.
Yeah, he was pretty quiet about that yesterday.
I mean, what am I going to say? Am I going to say Mikal was awesome? He wasn't. Giannis was dominating him whenever you saw him.
That's just the player he is. You're going to have those great games. You're going to have those poopers.
He's good, though. He's good. I think he'll be
No, but you threw it in our face when he had 27. You was like, Mikal.
But I would have too, so I can't blame
because you guys told me that if you leave Mikal with a guy like Brook Lopez, he couldn't do that.
But then he followed up with 4,
exactly.
so it's
we said he could have a game. Could he do it for a series is what we said, and we said no.
He's not that guy.
We'll see. Booker was not that guy Game 3.
He hasn't been that guy in a while, but we'll
he
get into that.
He hasn't been that guy since Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, we'll get into that, though.
The Suns
he cooked up Game 2, but go ahead.
The Suns shot 29% from 3, and the Bucks shot 39%. And the Bucks had 11 more rebounds, 47-36, and the Suns had 15 turnovers to the Bucks 9. This was all around a dominating performance by the Bucks. I was hoping the Suns would win so they go up 3-0. I have the Suns in 5 still. I think Devin Booker does not have a game like this again. I think he's going to come out better. And DeAndre Ayton, I'm not expecting him to get into foul trouble. Hopefully Scott Foster is not reffing the game because he is a douche. And every single time he refs for Chris Paul, he loses. He cost the Rockets to Western Conference Finals. I'll never forget that.
Oh, with that, KD was out of bounds, clearly.
No, Chris Paul has 1.
That was a regular season game.
That was a regular season game?
Yeah, James Harden hit the game winner, though, so it didn't matter.
I thought that was the playoffs.
He's clutch.
KD was out of bounds so bad.
Yeah, that hurts. Chris Paul's team has 1 win when Scott Foster's the...
But he didn't play.
Exactly.
I just don't get it with Scott Foster. If he has his track record with players not liking him, I don't know how he continues to ref big time games.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess
is he that good at his job? I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think.
I mean,
so.
the fact that he's had multiple opportunities, I'm going to assume the league thinks so. But you're
I think
right,
NBA refs in general are not that good though.
I'm blanking. Help me out. Referee that used to ref during like the Heat Spurs.
About the bald white guy?
Yes. Because he got a lot of opportunities and people didn't like him either.
Joey Crawford?
Yes, that's exactly who it is.
That's the dude that gave TD a tech for laughing.
Yes.
That's him.
No, he was extra sensitive.
Scott Foster probably is the modern day Joey Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
Probably is that. Not even modern, though, because they're not even that far within age.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think a lot of foul calls went the Bucks' way, but I'm not going to say it was because of that. That's why the Bucks won, because Giannis was getting fouled. But I do think that with DeAndre Ayton there, he's not gonna dominate that much as he did, because once the Suns went with that small ball lineup, Mikal is too skinny, Cam is too skinny, Jay Crowder is not fast enough, and he can't keep up with Giannis. Their best guy from a physique standpoint, if they were to go small, that can do the best job on Giannis is Torrey Craig, and he can't do it either.
No.
Because of that, Giannis will probably continue to dominate. So the Suns have to make a decision. They have to either, A, let Giannis dominate and we just guard everybody else, or B, we're going to collapse on Giannis and force Middleton and Holiday and these other guys to hit their shots.
Well, I think that's what they did last game. And it just turns out that Holiday started hitting his shots. Middleton started to get it going, not just as a scorer, but also as a playmaker. And you just saw the team get together and kind of gel and ride behind Giannis when Giannis started dominating. This is another 40-point performance he's had. So these last 2 games he's been imposing. He's starting to, dig into the paint. And I think this game we saw the Bucks get a lot of their opportunities in the paint, just dominating the paint, especially taking advantage with DeAndre Ayton, went out with all those fouls, dominating the paint. So I think overall, like you said, Devin Booker hasn't been the same since game 1 of the Clippers series. He's kind of been, his inefficiency has dropped tremendously. He's kind of been off. But I think with that being said, I think game 4 he's going to bounce back. He's one of those players where he's just missing shots. So I think he'll bounce back. But for this team, Milwaukee, to keep thriving, Giannis is going to be Giannis. Regardless if Ayton's out there, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, it doesn't matter. Giannis is going to be Giannis, but it's the other guys. Can they step up? Can PJ Tucker make those hustle plays like he was doing? Can Pat Connaughton make those big plays and key moments like he was doing last game? And Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton step up, playmaking, playing defense, hitting 3-pointers. If they can do that, I don't really see. That's why I picked the Bucks winning in 6, because I think with the supporting cast that he has, Giannis can definitely beat him, and then the other guys just follow suit, and they'll definitely win. But I think DeAndre Ayton, getting fouled out was also huge for them because they started dominating that zone. And Mikal Bridges, like you said, he's just too small. But I'm sticking to my, my pick. I think the Bucks win game 4. I'm not a believer. I think this playoffs this year especially has shown us 2-0 means nothing.
Yep.
You can still lose a series and you're still not in the driver's seat. So I think I got the Bucks game 4. I think that crowd was amazing in game 3. They came and they showed out for that team. So I think I got the Bucks in game 4. And game 5 is going to be a tricky situation, but I think I don't know. Phoenix is loud. Yeah, Phoenix is loud though, so I don't know.
Right now, this is something I'm looking at Milwaukee, and I'm just thinking they have an advantage right now. They got a size advantage, and they have a health advantage right now. Right now, we thought going into the series that Giannis would be an issue right now with his hyperextended knee. We didn't know his health going into the series. But obviously, back-to-back 40-point performances, that doesn't seem to be an issue. He's imposing his will down low. He's hitting his free throws at home because the crowd gives him a break, and they're not counting to 10 faster than I could count to 20. Regardless of that, Giannis has been unbelievable. Faster than I can count to 2. They've been just on him, no doubt about it. But I look at Milwaukee, and they actually took advantage of the size advantage that they had. Obviously, ain't got into that foul trouble, but you said it. They led them in rebounds, especially when you get Giannis on a block on an island the way that he was that last game. It's impossible to stop him. And you mentioned how do you beat them? Do you crash on Giannis and let Middleton and Drew Holiday beat you? I don't think that you can stop them even if you want to crash on Giannis, because the way that Giannis is playing right now, you double him, you triple him. The refs are giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Scott Foster.
The refs are giving him the benefit of the doubt more often than not, but he's getting fouled, no doubt about it. He's getting that ball in the paint, and he's getting hand checked as soon as he touches the ball. They don't want him to get comfy down there. And listen, I get it. You don't want Giannis down low on the block getting comfortable, because then it's going to be a long night for you. But the way that Giannis is playing right now, as long as Middleton and Drew Holiday play the way that they played in Game 3, this series should definitely lean Bucks. And then you look at the way that you have Torrey Craig, who has been battling some injury issues. Sarge goes down with the ACL, so there's your guy who really could help you down low to bump and grind with Giannis and Brook Lopez. It's things right now that are just going against the Suns, and the Bucks need to take advantage of that. But the one thing that the Bucks have shown is game to game, you really can't trust that these guys are going to show up other than Giannis. But when they're home, these guys play at a different level. So I feel like going into Game 4, I really like the Bucks, especially the way that Giannis has been playing. I don't see anyone stopping him. And D-Book needs to get it together, because if D-Book doesn't get it together, the Suns will lose in 6. And as electric as the Phoenix crowd has been when they're home. The way that without D-Book, this team is a shell of themselves. And if D-Book's going to continue to shoot under 40%, they're not going to have a chance.
In 2015, there was a stat on Scott Foster that showed that during those playoffs, away teams were 13-0, and home teams were 0-13 on the games that he refed. And you have that stat with Chris Paul being 1-12 in the games that Scott Foster has refed. I'm just saying, Scott Foster.
This guy's going every angle
to
not give Milwaukee the credit.
Scott Foster has a history of being a corrupt referee, and I am not ruling that possibility out.
Interesting.
The Bucks outplayed the Suns, though. I'm not knocking the Bucks, and I actually want to talk about Giannis for a bit because not on YouTube, but on TikTok, I'm viewed as this Giannis hater because I made a take that I don't think he could be the best player on a championship team. Obviously, that's not true because he's in the finals right now and he has a chance to win a championship.
For your boy.
But the premise of that video was not that Giannis can't win a championship. It was that his skill within the half court is limited and he's not as skilled as these other players. I made that video in Game 2 of the playoff series versus the Nets after Game 2. To that point, Giannis had not had a signature playoff performance. Since then, he had one. He had a few against the Nets. Game 7, the most memorable one. The Hawks, I wouldn't say he had a memorable one there. But then in the finals, every single one of these performances have been memorable. 2 back-to-back 40-point games. He's averaging 34, 14, and 5 in the finals. He's been elite defensively. These playoffs, I think, are the start of Giannis's ascension into top 3 conversation. And I think every superstar player within NBA history has that one playoff run that solidifies them as a great. And I think this could be the one for Giannis. And he deserves it. 2015, they lost in the first round to the Bulls. 2017, lost in the first round to Toronto. 2018, lost to Boston in 7. The year they had no Kyrie. They lost to a rookie Jason Tatum and a second-year Jaylen Brown. 2019 blew a 2-0 lead against the Toronto Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. If the Bucks win that series with the Warriors injured, they win that finals. Then in 2020, they got embarrassed by the Miami Heat 4-1 in the bubble. And now this year, their biggest test was the Brooklyn Nets, and they beat them in 7 games on the road in a game that went to overtime. I think this Bucks team throughout the years have shown that they are a resilient bunch, and Giannis has improved his game every single year. And from the regular season to the playoffs, Giannis's stats are very similar. He doesn't drop off. There's been a narrative that in the playoffs he doesn't perform. That's always been false because his numbers have always been there. I just want to say that this could be an all-time great playoff run for Giannis because he's playing phenomenal, and this could be the run that solidifies him as an all-time great. When we look back on his career, we say that was the year that he figured it out. He put it all together, and even with Holiday struggling, even with Middleton struggling, he's been putting the Bucks on his back and making sure they have every single chance to win, and that's not something that we've seen from James Harden in the playoffs. That's not something that we've seen from a lot of great players in the NBA in the playoffs. Giannis is doing it, 2-time MVP, and I think he's proving everybody wrong, including me, in these playoffs right now.
All right. There's a lot of takes that I just had to just.
Let's start with the first one because you think the Bucks wouldn't have beaten the Warriors had KD and Klay have been out.
I think you just, first of all, you can't say Klay get out because Klay played game 1. Klay got hurt.
Game 6. He got hurt in Game 6.
Well, he got hurt. No, he got hurt before.
He got hurt in Game 6.
He missed the game in the finals.
He missed the game in the final, and then he got hurt Game 6. It was a game he missed before that.
Correct.
But I'm saying
that was the game Steph dropped like 40 or 50?
42.
Okay.
I'm not going to say. The only reason I kind of looked at you because you said they were definitely going to beat the Warriors. I don't know that because they would have had a different scheme for them, and playing Kawhi and playing Giannis is completely two different things. They have Draymond. They have a bunch of bodies they can throw at Giannis.
I don't know if they would have been able to stop him. That's what I'm saying.
No. I'm saying they have Iggy, Draymond. They can build a wall for Giannis.
Nah, not
We
like
said
Toronto
that about
could've.
every single series so far, and it's not been the case.
That is true.
Draymond is too small for Giannis, and so is Iguodala.
People said that John Collins, Capella,
Draymond
that
is
didn't
not
happen.
too small for Giannis.
Yes, he is.
Draymond
He
is the
is.
Yes, he
same
is.
size as Kawhi Leonard.
It doesn't matter though.
What do you mean
Kawhi
it doesn't
Leonard's
matter?
stronger.
Kawhi Leonard had help down low to defend Giannis.
Draymond would be Draymond is one of the greatest help defenders in life.
But
not-
he
I'm not
he
saying
wouldn't
that,
have
but
been the help.
no,
He
he
would have
would've
been the primary guy. That's what you're saying.
No, I didn't. I said Iggy. I said Iggy probably would have been the
So who
primary.
would have been the back line?
Draymond Green.
Okay, 6'7" Draymond would have been the back line.
We're really gonna
Toronto
put his height down.
Toronto had 2 7-footers. There's a big difference there.
Right
That's
now
true,
we're
but
seeing
I-
that with the Suns.
that's true.
Obviously, it's
Well,
not
they
Draymond
don't have,
Green.
yeah, but I've seen Draymond put AD and Boogie in blenders. So I
Well,
don't.
AD doesn't have the mentality Giannis has.
Bro, in the playoffs, come on, bro. It's locking
He
him up
doesn't.
is still
we
a
know
difficult
AD
feat in itself.
Is
So
more
let's.
of a finesse player.
But it's still a difficult feat in itself to be able to guard a player like that. And even then, they had Eric Bledsoe.
When did Draymond lock up AD in the playoffs, though?
Pelicans.
No,
Pelicans.
Yeah, not
AD
really.
averaged
Yeah, he
30.
went
And
off.
this is why see you're gonna throw up the
on
just
great
the,
efficiency.
no, you're gonna throw up just the blank number, but you're not gonna throw up the numbers when Draymond was actually guarding him.
Do you have him?
Nah, I don't.
So don't mention him.
No, but I know the numbers, and it wasn't 30 because Draymond wasn't guarding him the whole time. But another
Obviously,
thing,
it wasn't.
another thing, you said Giannis has improved every year of his NBA career.
Absolutely.
I pull back on that because his skill is still something that we've challenged him on this year and even in the playoffs, because we've talked about how in the second round against the Brooklyn Nets, his skill was kind of being like we were kind of talking about how his skill kind of wasn't there. Even against Atlanta at points, his skill kind of wasn't there in the half court set. So I push back on that a little bit because his skill is still something that needs to improve. And you also said that Giannis has put them on his back consistently.
Yes.
But I remember in that Atlanta series when Giannis didn't play the last two games and Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday was the reason that they're in the finals right now. So you can't just say things like that without giving the credit, because Giannis didn't play the last two games. And Middleton went bananas and Drew Holiday went bananas. And if it wasn't for those two doing what they did, we wouldn't be talking about these 40-point games.
Did you mention how Trae Young was out for one of those games? Did you mention how Trae Young came back from the bone bruise?
No, I don't need to mention, because
Yes, you absolutely do.
You
Because
didn't
without
mention.
without Trae Young, Atlanta's not the
You
same
didn't mention
team.
Harden getting hurt or Kyrie getting hurt when he played the Nets. You didn't mention that. You kept it quiet. So why should I have to mention Trae Young?
Because there's a difference.
No, because you just said Giannis is about to be on an all-time great run. This, that, and the third.
There's a difference.
But you failed to mention that the Nets were up 2-0. Kyrie goes down. You didn't say a word about that. Then you failed to mention Harden didn't play. He had to come back, and he was on a grade 2, like you like to say, hamstring, correctly, right? Grade 2 hamstring. He was playing like garbage, but because he's on a grade 2 hamstring. But you didn't say nothing about that. You also didn't say nothing when Trae Young went out and Giannis was in that series. You didn't say nothing about that either. You just kept it quiet. You just kept talking about Giannis. So why do I have to say something when, let's be realistic, Trae Young wasn't going to defend either Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton, so he wasn't going to stop them from having a bad offensive game. So why do I have to mention them? You didn't mention these other guys.
This is too easy for me. The reason why it's too easy for me is because you absolutely do have to mention Trae Young being out and playing on a bone bruise,
Okay.
which is so hard to play on. You can't even believe. Harder than a grade 2 hamstring, I believe. And I am under the assumption that Harden,
No, I'm not.
I
saying
am
wrong.
under the assumption that Harden was not telling the full truth. I am under that assumption. Trae Young is the Hawks' offense. You take him out, what do the Hawks have? They were relying on a Cam Reddish off an injury. The Hawks have nothing without Trae Young. He is their fuel. He is their engine.
But yet,
The
they won a
Nets-
game without Trae Young.
They did. And Giannis
The
went out
Nets-
that game.
That's true.
So they
That's
beat the
true.
same. Yes.
Did he go out? It was game 4.
I don't remember the
He
game,
went out-
but they
he went out in that game.
both
Yep.
superstars
Yep.
were out.
Yep.
And the Hawks
They
guys
caught a game.
beat
They caught
the
a game.
Bucks. Yeah.
Yep.
Just making sure we're on the same page. Heart
The
and soul
Nets
and all that.
still had Kevin Durant
Oh.
with
Wow.
a space floor.
Oh, really?
But be honest.
Yes.
In
Wait,
that-
wait.
Be honest in that situation.
With Joe Harris shooting like poor garbage?
You're
He's
telling
still
me
a great shooter.
you're
You
telling
still
me
have to respect his shot.
without Harden, without Kyrie, the Bucks weren't the favorites to win that series.
Heavy favorites.
You have to look. You have to look at the Bucks being the favorites there. You have to. It's inexcusable
one.
if Giannis loses.
Wait,
that.
wait. Before you answer that, answer these two questions.
Can I answer this
Wait,
first?
I just want to
answer this
all
first.
Right, answer
because you're gonna ask me something that's gonna probably bounce back all this. I said before this series started, Kyrie, KD, Harden versus the Bucks, it goes 7. I believe in the Bucks that much. I think we all had it going 7.
But you had the Nets
with
winning.
Harden and Kyrie out.
Harden and Kyrie, you
obviously
had
the Bucks had to win that series.
I agree.
But we're not gonna sit around here and act like when they were up 2-0, nobody had the Bucks coming back.
I don't know about that. 2-0, both games in Brooklyn.
They were up 2-0. They
at
dominated the Bucks, though.
I'll tell you when
they
I thought
dominated the Bucks
when I
game 1
thought
and
the
game
game
2.
was over. When I thought the series was over.
Game 3 was close.
It was game 3
close.
when Milwaukee still looked flat at home.
Game 3 went on a run. Even before Kyrie went down, game 3, Milwaukee was on a run.
83-84, something like that.
Kyrie went out long before 83-84.
He did go out long before. I'm just saying,
okay.
and the game itself was stagnant.
Right, and Joe Harris missed that. Right, okay.
I'm just saying that I was worried game 3. That's when I started to think, okay, maybe the Nets got it. Milwaukee really hasn't played that well. Then game 4, after they get the W, when they realize, okay, we can beat these guys, then they started to play
and
like
KD
the normal
goes
Milwaukee.
Bananas.
Then game 5, KD absolutely goes crazy. Game 6, I mean, KD played amazing every single second that he was by himself, truthfully. But
yes,
game 7 was way closer than it should have been. Milwaukee should have closed out this series a lot easier than they did, especially with Harden missing time, especially with Kyrie being out. And the only reason that the Nets took that game was because they weren't ready for Harden to be the decoy. Harden being out there allowed the Nets to have no double team on KD and KD do whatever he wanted on an island.
I disagree.
So why do you say that? Because
they didn't double team KD because there are 40% 3-point shooters around him
who are shooting at a
below average. But that's why they didn't double team.
But let's be honest, that was a bad no adjustment. You need to adjust on that. KD's killing you. These other guys aren't hitting shots.
Okay.
Double them.
Okay, you're right. You talked about adjustments. What does that have to do with Giannis? That's on Coach Bud.
My point being,
We're
you're
talking
saying
about
this
Giannis.
all-time great run.
Yes, he is on an all-time great run. Look at
he's
his
gotten
numbers.
a little bit luckier this run.
Every single championship run is lucky.
Not
every single one.
I agree with you there.
In 2015, the Warriors faced every single team that year hurt.
I agree. Listen, but no one's saying it's an all-time great.
They did.
But do people say it's an all-time great run?
Hold on, because I'm gonna use your guy.
Okay.
I'm gonna use your guy. I just want to use your guy real quick. Just
Are you
to
gonna go against me?
No, I'm actually on his side because he said every great run is lucky. 2013. The Miami Heat didn't face an unhealthy team. They faced everybody's best guys healthy at their best. Indiana, Boston, the San Antonio Spurs. So what do you, even Dirk in his 11, his great run, his legendary run.
That's one of the best runs of all time.
Yes, and you don't need any context because everybody was healthy.
Correct.
Lakers, Thunder, like everybody. Miami was healthy. So this whole every run is lucky. No, that's not true. Yes. It's just Giannis's run, and we're not
being healthy. There's luck into being healthy.
We're not taking away from Giannis's greatness. We're not taking away from what he's doing. He is performing at a great rate.
Individually, this is an all-time great run. He's having an all-time great playoff run.
Okay, on that. Individually, numbers-wise, yes.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree.
Okay, so what is the argument?
Because you're not adding context. You're just saying. You're just throwing things out there without adding the fact that Brooklyn was broken and they weren't healthy.
Correct.
We knew everybody. You sat here after 2-0 and you believed Nets were going to take it. You believed it. Let's be honest. We all believe
even
Nets
without
were going to take
Harden.
it. You believe Kyrie and KD were going to take it. They were destroying.
And Giannis came back.
When Kyrie
the
goes
Bucks
out,
came back.
Yes,
Kyrie goes
and
out,
on the road, Game 7, Giannis dropped 40 points
against Kevin Durant in a decoy James Harden.
And KD was an inch away from winning that game. It
took them.
But he didn't win. But he didn't win.
No, I agree.
But it doesn't matter. He didn't win. He didn't win.
You want to say that?
It doesn't matter. You didn't win.
All right, you can say
either
that.
win or you lose, and if you lose, you lost.
You're calling it an all-time great run, though. That's what you have to understand.
Giannis, you could put up his numbers next to anybody in playoff history.
I'm with you,
the numbers he's putting up right now.
But you can't put up that Atlanta Hawks team against great ECF teams and say these are the same teams. You can't. That Atlanta Hawks team wasn't even supposed to be there.
I'm not denying
it. They weren't supposed to be there, no doubt. But it's not the Bucks' fault that the Sixers choked against the Hawks. It's not their fault.
No one here is denying.
This is what I'm saying.
Giannis has played amazing.
What I'm saying. Last 5 years, let's get the championships. 2020, the Lakers, they got lucky. Come on.
Okay, wait.
Goran Dragic, Bam Adebayo, they were
Let's
hurt.
compare Kawhi's run.
Exactly.
That's it. Let's do that.
Kawhi's run was lucky.
2019, the Warriors were hurt.
Okay, but what about the Sixers?
One of the hardest
was
Eastern
a great-
Conferences in a
Okay.
long time.
That's a great run.
There's no doubt
They
about
did
it.
get lucky at the
There's
end.
no doubt about it.
But I'm talking. We're talking out of health.
But we're just talking overall run. It's like,
All right, let me just finish my point. 2019, they faced an unhealthy Warriors team. The Warriors were winning that.
That's
healthy.
fair.
2018, Warriors. Chris Paul gets hurt. You face a horrible Cavs team in the finals.
Well, we're not the Warriors. You can get rid of
I have
that.
a true question for you. Which one was
2017,
better?
we know.
What about
of course, they were
2016?
stacked. 2016, Draymond gets suspended for Game
But
5.
even
No,
after
wait, but
Draymond
before
plays
that-
the next game and LeBron still drops 40.
and Steph Curry, MCL injury that playoffs.
He beat the Thunder though.
But then if you say, like, we're not giving Harden an excuse for a grade 2 hamstring, correct? You feel like he was lying about that? So then why are we going to give Curry the pass?
I say it with Harden because James Harden played, and then when he lost, said, I was basically playing on the grade 2 hamstring.
LeBron did the same thing.
Steph Curry, when he lost, he doesn't say, oh, it's because I was hurt. He doesn't say that. He said, yo, they were the better team. That's it.
I'm with you
Harden
there.
made his injury an excuse as to why they lost.
I agree.
That's why I had a problem with it.
Okay.
Steph Curry doesn't do that. LeBron does it, though. LeBron quit this season on his team versus the Suns.
man.
LeBron was
That's
a quitter.
Terrible.
LeBron quit.
Terrible
LeBron
opinion.
quit.
Terrible opinion.
LeBron quit.
2 games prior to the regular season,
And
he
I know
comes
why.
back.
I know why LeBron quit too.
'Cause his team wasn't good.
No, he wanted to be. He wanted to be there for the Space Jam premiere. If he was in the finals, he wouldn't have been there.
I think it would have been
was there.
even more promotion had he been in the finals. What do you think?
My thing.
No,
my,
but this
And
is my
then in
initial question.
2015,
This is my initial
and then in
question.
2015,
Yes, that
the
was lucky,
Warriors
correct.
faced every single
I'm
team
with you.
unhealthy.
That
in
being said,
run.
which run is more impressive to you, Kawhi's or Giannis this season? If Giannis were
Kawhi,
to
no
win?
doubt about
But
it.
That's what. Then how can we call it an all-time great run if in the past 2 years it wouldn't even be the best?
It's an all-time great run because statistically, he's putting up numbers that 5 players in history have not put up. He's in
But he's caught a lot of
He's in
breaks.
conversations. It doesn't matter because he is still putting up the numbers.
I'm with you. Listen,
He's in
who's he in conversation
conversations. He's in. For one, they put up a
Shaquille
graphic
O'Neal.
of how
Shaquille O'Neal.
he's one of two.
Correct.
He's one of 2 players. Only Shaq
Mm-hmm.
has had back-to-back 40-point triple-doubles in the NBA Finals.
triple doubles.
No, no, no.
Double-doubles.
Okay.
He's in conversations with LeBron, Jordan,
Shaquille.
Kareem, Will, in these all-time great performances in the playoffs. He's playing at an all-time level. Regardless of what you want to say the competition is, all these teams have been in the playoffs. I'm not saying this Bucks team had an all-time great championship run. What I'm saying is that Giannis is having an all-time great run. This playoff run right now is solidifying Giannis as a top 5, top 3 player in the NBA.
And no one's denying that.
If Giannis,
No, I'm denying the top
If
3
Giannis wins this championship,
Really?
he is a top 3 player in the
Come on,
NBA.
bro. That's got to be a fact.
I'm denying the top 3 part.
That's got to be
If
a fact.
Giannis wins the championship, he's a top 3 player in
It's
the
LeBron,
NBA.
KD, him.
No.
Simple as that.
He's
And
not
he
better
beat
than
KD.
Kawhi.
He
He's not
beat
better than
KD.
Kawhi. He's not better than
He
Kawhi.
went at KD. True or false?
He's not better than Kawhi.
Bro, enough with this Kawhi.
He's not. No, he's not better than Kawhi, bro. Listen, and I get it. Listen, talking about just the finals, the 40 points is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix is healthy. Nobody's knocking that.
Phoenix is a great team.
Phoenix is a great team that got lucky the same way Milwaukee
Kawhi
got
needs
lucky.
a supporting cast to win. Giannis.
So does Giannis.
He's done it by.
He's done what? Win by what? What? What are you about to say?
I would say.
What are you about to say?
I would say that you know what? Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they've done
Fair
the,
enough.
they've done the
Got
same
a good
thing.
point.
Does
Got a good point.
does the Suns getting lucky in the playoffs take away from the fact that they were the second best team in the NBA this past season?
In the regular season?
Does it take away because they were still a great team?
The thing is, they had doubters.
And
they had doubters.
I don't know
going
if you
into
guys.
the
I don't know if you
postseason.
guys look at YouTube videos and see Jimmy High Roller's videos.
Who is Jimmy Hyde?
He's one of the best basketball YouTubers out there.
Okay.
He made a video on the Suns playoff run, and actually, in terms of all-time rankings, toughest playoff runs of all time, the Suns are 7th.
Are they? Is it based off other
Number
teams'
one,
record?
number one is the Houston Rockets with Hakeem at 94.
Is it based off other teams' records?
It's based off other teams' records and the playoff odds coming into those series.
Oh yeah, their odds were low. They played great teams. It's just I don't think he put into the account the team's best players got hurt. I think
They
Well, I'm
weren't.
just saying, statistically, that's what it shows. And statistically, the Phoenix Suns, if they were to win the championship, this would be the most unlikely champion in NBA history. 20-1 odds.
That's interesting.
No team in NBA history has ever won a championship being this not favored.
So are we just going to say that without adding a grain of salt to that? We're just going to just throw
No, I'm saying that because regardless of what you want to say about the Suns, they deserve their credit. Just how I'm saying, everybody wants to make this a debate, and I think this is the problem right now with how we talk about the NBA. When Giannis is playing great, okay, but he didn't play as great as Hakeem in 94. Oh, he didn't play as great as Kawhi in 2019 or LeBron in 2016. That doesn't change the fact that right now, Giannis is doing something historic. He's putting up all-time great numbers. And based on his upbringing, where he's come from, being a poor kid in Greece, coming into the NBA, being the lowest-rated player on 2K on his team as a rookie with Chris Middleton, them both being the best two players on their team now, losing in the first round 3 times, then the ECF to Toronto, blowing a 2-0 lead, then getting embarrassed by Miami, and not only this year beating their kryptonite in the first round against Miami, then beating the Brooklyn Nets, Game 7 on the road away, Giannis drops 40, then beating the Hawks, which no doubt about it, they should have beat, and now in the finals, Giannis is playing this great, and this winner is still to be determined, but if the Bucks do win the Bucks winning the championship has been a 7-year-long process. That every year they're one of the best regular season teams. They come up short. This is a great story because this is the year that they finally come out on top. Budenholzer finally washes away that horrible playoff coach resume. Giannis washes that away as well on his resume. They all become solidified. And
crazy.
that's what's so great about this run.
I look at every series and I just think they should have won. Every single series they should have won. And
it's just funny to me how we're so quick to throw him at 3 if he wins. Yet, like, injuries really get me so mad because before Kawhi went down, he was clearly better than Giannis.
The Clippers would have beat the Bucks in finals?
With both teams healthy? Yes.
That's not a 100% certainty, though.
That's facts.
Not.
That's 100%.
So I ask y'all. I'll ask the audience this too. Y'all can chime in the comments or answer just individually in your heads.
Wait.
If the Clippers were 100% healthy with Kawhi Leonard
in the finals?
What do you mean by that?
They were
if everyone
would
was
the Bucks
on,
even be here?
Wait. We're not talking about that.
We're just talking about
that. We're talking about the Clippers.
Uh-huh.
If the Clippers were 100% healthy, they had Kawhi Leonard, and they were in the finals instead of the Suns, is it guaranteed that they would have won? They don't have the personnel to build a wall on Giannis either. Kawhi cannot guard Giannis one-on-one. He can't. He needed 2 7-footers in Serge and Gasol to be the backline of that wall.
Right.
Giannis would have still been doing what he's doing against the Suns versus the LA Clippers.
I agree, but I think they don't have anybody to stop Kawhi right now, bro. You can say the same way you're saying about Giannis. They don't have anybody to stop Kawhi right now.
No doubt.
Like, they don't.
I just think, I'll be honest, that Clippers team was nice.
Yeah, like, it would have been mono-e-mono. And I trust,
good.
and let's be realistic, I trust Paul George right now more than I trust Middleton and Holiday right now in this series.
Paul
Easily.
George showed out because Kawhi got hurt.
Paul George was showing out when Kawhi was playing.
He wasn't showing out like he was showing out when he got
hurt.
No, he wasn't.
No, he's not right because when Kawhi was playing, you started to see it because they both had back-to-back 30-point games against the best team in the league.
There were nights on Dallas that PG went ghost.
Yes, you can talk about nights on that, but there's been nights.
So hold up. So we're not going to add context to Utah either.
Mike Conley wasn't stopped.
Because you want to add context to everything. So let's add context to Utah.
Let's add context
and how
to Utah.
Quinn Snyder played this bullshit defense against the Clippers.
What did you just say earlier about Budenholzer? That has nothing to do with Kawhi and PG. What Quinn Snyder does has nothing to do with what did he say? What did he say though? That has nothing to do with Kawhi and PG.
You're Mr. Context guy.
But I'm saying, I'm just saying what you said.
I'm adding context
Quinn
to
Snyder
Utah's bad defense. That even though
we're blaming a coach,
even though it was a number 1 ranked defense in the playoffs, they did get exposed.
They did get exposed
because of the coach.
But like you said, that has nothing to do with Kawhi and PG. That has nothing to do with.
But you're Mr. Context guy.
Okay, so wait, let's do this. Let's do this.
All right, go ahead.
Quinn Snyder. What was Mike Budenholzer gonna do that was much better than Quinn Snyder?
I agree.
What was he gonna
play
do?
Small.
Mike Budenholzer was going to do that,
and you wanted.
He's been playing small against Phoenix.
But how would you expect the Jazz to have gone smaller?
The Jazz don't have a small ball personnel.
My point. It was a bad matchup for them.
Exactly. That's why you have to take into account the context of it. They were the number 1 ranked defense, yes, but that matchup was just horrible for them.
Okay. I'm
Milwaukee,
trying to see your point.
you got Drew, Middleton, Giannis. You got Connaughton and Tucker, all very versatile defenders.
Kawhi,
Clippers
Paul
are
George,
better.
Marcus
Yeah, they're
Morris,
just as
Pat
good
Bev, Reggie Jackson.
Bucks small
defensively.
ball lineup is better. And if Reggie Jackson was
Wait, we're talking about both.
Haven't we agreed that if Kawhi was healthy, they were beating the Suns?
Wait, we're talking about both teams healthy, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So Ibaka's playing, right?
Yeah, that wall would be
that
nice
is
against
different.
Giannis because we've
No,
seen it in the
that's
past.
what I'm asking. That's what I'm
That's
asking.
different.
Both teams are healthy,
The
right?
reason why that's different is because Ibaka wasn't healthy for the start. He didn't play.
That's
He
why.
didn't
That's
make any
why.
impact.
That's why I'm asking you.
We're not putting Ibaka in this
Okay.
conversation because Kawhi actually played in the playoffs
Okay.
and he made an impact.
No, I'm just making sure we're.
But
okay.
because if we want to bring Ibaka back, we're bringing in DiVincenzo back. And do you really want to do that? Because he got hurt early before the Nets series.
That's fine with me.
I'll be honest.
Obviously, because Ibaka is more valuable than DiVincenzo, but
Well,
DiVincenzo still means a
DiVincenzo
lot to the
played
squad.
a little bit more than Kawhi.
but Ibaka has been injured all year.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I had to make sure.
We can't really go by that.
I don't know, man. I've seen this Clippers team with and I feel like Phoenix has the same advantages Milwaukee would have against the Clippers, and even then, I've seen the Clippers give Phoenix way more hell than we've seen Milwaukee do, and that's without their best player. So I can't sit there and say Milwaukee because the same advantages Milwaukee had.
I don't know.
what
I don't
Phoenix
know about
had,
that.
bro. And
I don't know about
I don't
that.
know, bro. I've seen Clippers give Phoenix absolute hell in a 6-game series without their
I've
best
also
player.
Gave the
seen
Suns
Reggie
hell
Jackson.
Game 3.
Game 3, yeah.
They absolutely gave him hell, and
agree.
the series just getting started.
That's true. That is true. That's true.
I've also seen Reggie Jackson be the second best player on the team, and if Kawhi was back, he'd be relegated to a spot-up shooter role.
I disagree.
He wouldn't have been making the same impact that he was making if it was just PG and Reggie.
He's right about
I disagree. I don't think a spot up shooting.
That's what he
role.
was when Kawhi was healthy.
He was making clutch shots in Dallas. What are you talking about? Against Dallas?
Spot up shots.
No.
I have a question for you.
He was taking Porzingis off the dribble and Boban.
The fact that the Suns struggled against the Clippers, and the Suns are up 2-1 on Milwaukee. You don't think that that's a bad look on Milwaukee right now? Clippers did it without their best player.
The reason I say no.
They gave them the biggest trouble in the playoffs so far.
By far.
By far.
The reason I say no is because the Bucks can win 3 straight games from here on out, and
You don't have them winning 3 straight games. You have
I
Bucks
don't.
and
But
Suns in
I'm,
5.
but I'm
winning in
saying
5.
right now,
Yeah.
everything is still to be determined.
Well, based off your projection, you have Suns in 5. So you believe the
I
Suns
do.
are going to destroy them.
I do, but the Bucks could win these next 3 games, and it could end in 6, like you predicted. And now it looks like the Bucks could have bolded very well against the Clippers. I mean, when you look at their roster top to bottom, their personnel is very similar. They can match up very well. That series would have been a 6-7 game series.
Clippers just looked amazing this
But based
postseason.
off your Suns projection of 5, we're asking off your projection. Don't go off what we said. You picked Suns in 5. So off your projection, don't go off what we said because we have the Bucks. Off your projection, how do you think the Clippers would have fared? Because you had Suns in 5. So
I
you
think
believe
it
the
would
Suns
have-
We're talking with Kawhi, correct?
with Kawhi because you had
Dude,
Suns
With
in 5.
Kawhi versus the Bucks, I think
you have to go
it
Clippers.
would have been a 7-game series still, in my
And
opinion.
who are you taking?
Yo.
I would take the Bucks over the Clippers.
I don't know if you believe that, man.
I do.
I don't know if you believe that.
I do.
Because how we sat here, us 3 together, saying if Kawhi was healthy, no doubt about it, they're beating the Suns. Meanwhile, you have the Suns winning in 5.
Bro, he was on the Kawhi tour, bro. Oh my God.
Trust me. I think the Bucks would have beat the Clippers. I do.
I just think defensively, the way that the Clippers were playing, it would have been tough to beat them, especially with the way that Kawhi and Paul George were playing together. One thing I will say that Joel is right. Once Kawhi went out, we saw PG take it to a whole nother level.
But he was already on the start of that. Against
but
Utah.
not-
I'm
but
saying
not
against
like
Utah.
that.
No, he
I'm saying
wasn't, because
against it.
post-game interview, he said, I'm taking it back to Indiana, Paul George.
Exactly. And
No,
he did.
but I'm saying
He knew
before
he
that,
needed to
before
step
that
up.
interview, he had 2 back-to-back 30-point
He
games.
did.
That's what I'm saying.
He
So
did.
he was already on the start to getting back to that.
I think that with Kawhi going out, it made him continue to put his foot on the gas.
agree.
We haven't seen that these last 2-3 seasons when he was playing with Russ either.
I still trust him over Middleton any day of the week.
Especially this postseason, I
Any
agree.
day of the week.
I agree. He's a better player than Middleton, and that's
Yeah,
not
come on.
disrespectful to
Like-
say.
Yeah, but I don't trust Paul George over Middleton and Holiday.
And the way you saw Reggie Jackson, you said that you would take Reggie Jackson over Russell. So at that
Well,
point,
because Russell was an all-time bad playoff performer.
Well, Drew's kind of been off and on. So
he has,
But I know
on.
Drew is gonna lock up.
Do we know that?
He's been.
Yes.
He hasn't
Do
been
we
locking
know
up.
that?
So what you saw?
He had a good game 3.
He's
I will give him that.
He's been
He had
making
a
it
good
tough
game
on Chris
3.
Paul.
Not really. Chris
he
Paul's
has.
efficiency. He had 4 turnovers. Is that really?
But it's not just that. It's the reason.
Dude, Chris Paul had an amazing game 1.
It's not just that. You can tell me the box score stats all you want. The reason why he's making
But you're
it
saying
tougher
Giannis is
on
having
Chris
an all-time
Paul.
run because of his stats, correct?
Oh yeah, no doubt. But Drew Holiday.
So then,
this is the difference. Drew Holiday's making an impact versus the Clippers. Versus the
I
Suns.
understand.
Because instead of them running their offense, instead of Chris Paul getting around the screen with 16 seconds left in the shot clock, he's getting around it with 11 because Drew Holiday's making him work more. That means a lot. That takes the rhythm out of the offense. That means a lot. That won't show up on the box score, but that is what you see. Drew Holiday is making it tough for the Suns right now. There's no doubt about that.
Game 1, you sure about that?
bro, game
game
1,
one
Chris
was a different
Paul was
story.
going
Game
bananas.
2, are we positive about that?
That's
too?
Yes, we are. I am.
I'm
I
not
am.
positive
This is-
about
I
that.
am.
This
I
is the
am.
same guy that was somewhat shooting them out of games at times. So.
I am, and he's the guy that also went 5 for 10 from 3 in Game 3 as
Dude,
well.
Chris
No,
Paul
he
has
did.
shot
Come on.
63, 50%, 57. Drew Holiday's done nothing other than game 3 where he had an amazing offensive
We're
night.
talking about the Bucks versus the Clippers. You're not trusting Drew to guard Reggie Jackson.
Drew's not going to guard Reggie Jackson.
Who is he guarding?
Either Paul
He's
George
gotta.
or Kawhi.
He's got
Well, I think
He's gotta.
Middleton or whoever.
I
luck.
think
It's
Drew
barbecue
Holiday,
chicken.
obviously Kawhi and PG will score, but he will make it tough on both of them. And I think he'd probably most likely
I
guard
don't know.
Paul George.
We've said that about every series, and every series he's gone cooked.
So wait, who's going to guard Kawhi? Middleton?
It depends. It really depends.
Oh, you better put PJ on him because Middleton is.
I think, Drew, you're not putting context into any of these series.
I don't
The
think you
one,
did.
the one I will give is Trey because yes,
For
he was
one,
getting
he
screened
locked
to
up
death.
Jimmy Butler. That's one. So you said
Like,
every single
who
series.
really had what did Miami really have going for them?
I mean, come on.
What did they
Drew
have
Holiday-
going for
come on,
them?
come on,
What
come
did
on,
Miami
come on,
have
come on.
going? Answer
Ver-
it.
versus
Answer
that-
that question.
versus-
Answer that question. What did they have going for them?
I mean, Jimmy Butler had a horrifically bad
Yeah, he
playoff
did, but that
performance.
team is not good.
I wouldn't say that.
It was
I
not.
wouldn't
good.
say not.
It's
good.
not. It's not that they're not good. It's
Listen,
that the
bro,
Bucks
in,
just
in
embarrassed them.
hindsight, right now,
The Bucks embarrassed them. That doesn't mean they're not good. Well, we're gonna say the Bucks weren't good in the bubble because they got embarrassed. No, they're good. They just got
but
embarrassed.
the Bucks got hurt, so that's what it was. You
They were
lost
down
Gian-
3-0 when-
They
when-
lost. Giannis was hurt that entire series.
No, he wasn't. Not
He
the
was
entire
hurt that
series.
entire. He went
he
in
wasn't.
with the ankle injury.
We're not doing that. Today.
But that's what. It's a fact. He didn't make an excuse. I'm not. I'm not
All right, so
making.
if he
It's
didn't
just
make
a
But I'm
fact.
just saying you're not adding context to none of these
Well,
series
I told
because
you
you talked about Drew Holiday's been getting cooked versus Atlanta. They were screening him to death.
Yes, but then at what point do you make an adjustment, go through the screen, make it tougher on Trey? He never did that.
That wasn't their game plan.
I see that, and it was a mistake because Trey was
Yeah, but
eating.
that doesn't mean Trey was.
And this is the same guy.
getting
This
cooked.
is the same
But this
coach.
is supposed to be a defensive guru.
Drew, this is the same coach where he's taking to beat Ty Lue on the other side. This is the same guy, same coach. The same coach that he believes is going to outcoach Ty Lue. That guy. That guy. Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
Chris Paul.
I'm just saying we have to put context.
I mean, we'll
into
put
these
context
things.
on every series when you talk about Giannis'
but hold up.
individual
The first-
run.
That's a
Well,
fact.
we're just
also.
saying this. We're just saying this. We're talking about Drew Holiday and his defense.
No, but you said
do you still believe he's a top 5 defensive guard in the NBA?
100%.
I agree.
Okay,
He
so
is.
so let's
But-
stop
but
this
let's be-
nonsense
but-
about
No,
Drew
but
he
you-
Holiday.
hasn't
you're
been
being-
playing well.
you're being a
You could
hypocrite
be a
because you're
top
not
5
putting
defender.
Offensively, not defensively.
No, defensively, he hasn't been what everyone wants him to be. What do you mean? Come on,
You're
I've watched
expecting
the
him
game.
to hold these guys to 10 points. He's
I'm-
not that
I'm
type
expecting
of,
him to-
nobody can do that in the modern NBA.
I'm expecting him to not allow a player to do 63% shooting, 50% shooting, 57% shooting. Is that wrong of me?
my gosh.
Is that wrong of me? Is that
Chris Paul, before getting to the finals, had a streak where he had like 40 assists to 1
How
turnover.
about you do something
He had
better
4
than
turnovers in 1 game.
Dude,
Pat Bev had him in prison. I don't know what you're talking about.
Pat Bev did have him in a chokehold.
Chris Paul
trying to hear that.
has been the most efficient player, assist to turnover ratio in the
I
playoffs.
agree, but if you're
and
like
in the
that,
finals,
show me.
In the finals, that has not been that way.
True or false? Drew Holiday has had one good game all around in this series.
Offensively,
all around.
All around.
Game 3, I would say no. Game 1 and Game 3, he had a good
All
game.
around.
Game 1,
Yes.
he was horrible.
No, I don't think so.
Game 1, he was horrible.
I don't think so. I think he had a good all around game. I do. I do.
I don't know about game one.
I
said
game two,
definitely.
Giannis had no
Game
help.
three,
Game
no
three,
doubt.
definitely.
That's
Game three,
without
definitely.
like that. I close my eyes and
But
I
game
can say
one,
that.
game
Dude,
one, it's all no.
Drew looked quite. And
But
I
Drew
went
has
into,
not been a horrible
I went
defender in these
into this
playoffs,
series.
though. That's what we're talking
He hasn't been good offensively.
He hasn't.
Offensively, yes, but defensively,
I'm not saying he's been
really
bad.
good.
I'm saying he hasn't been what everyone has projected him to be. And for
You
them
did say
to,
he's been bad. You said he's been horrible.
Yeah, you did say that. You
and
just said
you
that.
know what? And I will
That's
still
worse than bad.
And
Yeah,
I'll say he's
that's
been.
like
There's been
an
moments
F.
where he's been getting cooked.
No, you said he's been getting cooked all playoffs. Those were your words.
I said this. He's had one good game this finals, and that's not incorrect.
Offensively.
All around, and that's what you need him to be, that all around player for them to win this series, and it's a fact. I came into this series saying Giannis could be the best player. Who's the most important? Drew Holiday. I've reiterated that point every episode since, and it's clear as day when he is playing at a high level, they win. What do? 20-point victory. That's obvious.
I honestly don't. I think it's more Middleton.
But dude, he shot 5 of 10. He played very good defense. Game 3. I keep saying last night like it happened yesterday, and they win by 20 points. It's not a surprise.
It is because, like I mentioned, Scott Foster has a lot to do with it. The reffing had a lot to do with it.
Oh god.
But let's be honest, Giannis was getting fouled.
The shots, the Suns not hitting the 3-point shots had a lot to do with it. Them having more turnovers than the Bucks had a lot to do with it. So I'm saying there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors. It's not just because Drew Holiday played good, the Bucks win by 20.
I mean,
There's a
there's a good correlation there.
No,
He plays bad, they lose. He plays really well.
Had 10 points.
He played really well defensively.
He
to be
wasn't
fair,
a
though,
primary
D-Book
defender on
hasn't been
D-Book.
good for a while. So.
No, I'm saying, but I'm just saying there's a lot of reasons why they won by 20, not just because Drew Holiday had a good game.
It definitely supports that fact.
By a little bit.
All I'm saying is the whole Giannis individual great run. Let's pump the brakes on that. The whole top 3 thing.
You
Let's
guys are some
relax.
hitters, man.
We
Look,
st-
right
I'm
now.
not hating.
Right now.
We still got LeBron. We still got KD, Steph, Kawhi. We still got
Right
dudes
now,
that can
we
really.
are watching Giannis.
I don't know, man.
We are
Giannis is
watching.
having a great one.
Right now, we are watching Giannis ascend. If you want to be a hater, be a hater.
No, whoa! I had
Be a
first of
hater.
all,
We both
I
have
had Giannis
Bucks.
as
We
he
both
knows
have
I had
Bucks.
Giannis as a top 5 player in the NBA before the run, so he was always there for me. It's
That's
just
cap. No, he didn't.
who I had at 5.
You had LeBron, you had KD, you had Steph, you had
Kawhi, and I
you
had
had-
Giannis at
That's
5.
and you had Luka, bro. Stop playing. Yes, you did.
Did you have
Before the
Luka over-
playoffs started, I did not have Luke at 5.
I don't have Luka.
All my life, I didn't
You
have
had
Luke at
Jokic
5.
definitely over.
I had Jokic at like 7-8. He's
Definitely.
not there.
Definitely.
Don't try to cap for the
Definitely.
media.
That's
Definitely.
But to put him at 3-4 when the top 4 is it's stamped.
Are
to me
you
right
even
now.
saying it's not a debate between Kawhi and Giannis?
I think it's a debate. I just think like.
Just think of the.
I just think Kawhi was on the same type of tear. It's just he got hurt. That's what I think. I think Kawhi was bugging his 40-point game against Dallas.
He was.
Him giving Utah to be like he was on the same
Again,
type of tear.
He should have
He
done
just
that.
got hurt.
He should have done that against the Mavs.
Should've?
He's supposed to do that.
And what was Giannis supposed to do against
I agree.
Atlanta?
I agree.
What is he supposed to do against Brooklyn with no Harden and no Kyrie?
I'm
He's
with you.
supposed to do
Listen,
that.
I'm
But
not
just 'cause
saying
you're
that he's had an
I
all-time
think your
run.
vocabulary is wrong.
Yeah, just because you're
In what
supposed to
sense?
do
Kawhi
it.
averages 26 points per game. Is he supposed to drop 40?
He's
No.
supposed to be.
He's
the Mavs.
supposed to be good,
He's supposed
but
to
he was
beat the Mavs.
exceptional.
He was
Just because
exceptional.
you're supposed to do something doesn't mean it happens.
I agree.
LeBron was supposed to beat Dallas. Did he do it? No. Stuff happens. Like,
But this is 2 seasons. Well, now he actually showed out. I'm with you. But
Wait, Kawhi
it's-
only played bad for one game last
people
year.
have to
Let's
stop
stop
saying
acting
that.
like
he
won
dominated
one
Dallas
game.
in the bubble,
But it's not
and he
like
killed Denver for the most part.
If
He
it
just
was
had a
one
bad
game, he would have won one of those. He would have closed out at least one of
love
those
to
games.
bring that
I'm
up.
just saying he would have closed one of them if he played well.
Yeah, but you're acting like Kawhi had a bad playoffs last year because
He
of
had
one
a
game
bad
7.
series. He had a bad
No, he
series.
didn't. Look at the stats. Kawhi led them in every single statistical category.
From game 5 on.
I would say game 6, 7.
From game 5 on, he needed to close out, and he didn't.
So you're saying for 5 games he played great,
Yeah, he did.
and he played bad for 2. So the
He-
percentages
game 5,
show that he
game
was
6,
better than he was bad.
Game
Well,
5,
he played good for
game
4.
6.
He played great for
correct.
4.
He did.
And played
I'm not.
bad for 3. Okay, that's an okay series. That's not a bad series.
But when you need him to
He
close,
just choked.
you need him to close out against Denver. Exactly. That's all I'm saying. He's
He
had
choked
he's-
game 7.
Okay, but Giannis just choked against Miami. So it's the same. It's
what,
the same thing.
You're saying last year when he was hurt,
oh my.
Kawhi was fully healthy. He should have won that series, and you
Giannis
know
was
it's a
hurt.
fact.
He was hurt. He was healthy for 3 games. They were getting.
And the Bucks did not have
destroyed.
Drew Holiday last season either. Drew
Okay.
Holiday's the X factor.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
What? It's a fact.
So I can't use nothing to Kawhi's case. It's just everything is an excuse for Giannis.
Whoa. I'm not.
They both got embarrassed last year.
If me saying that he's supposed to do that sounds negative.
Was he not supposed to beat the Heat last year? Let's be honest. In the bubble, was the Bucks supposed to beat?
If he
him?
was healthy, yes, 100%. If he was healthy, 100%.
The first
he
three
was
games.
not. He went into the series injured.
Did you pick the Bucks to win, regardless of the injury?
Of course.
Okay, then that's it.
Of course. I'm not saying you're wrong.
So right now you have your top 5 players. You have Kawhi over Giannis.
I have LeBron, KD, Steph, Kawhi, Giannis. Those are my 5 right now.
You have Giannis in top 5 too.
I have Giannis in top 5, of course. If you have him outside the top 5, you don't know basketball.
Right now I have Giannis in top 5 too.
You used to have Harden in front of him.
Yes, because he definitely deserved to be in front of him.
Not anymore.
Yeah, because it is
playoff
playoff
for him
run
to catch him.
And that's what I'm saying. This playoff run is solidifying Giannis. Is it not? It's solidifying
I had him
Giannis.
in my top 5 with his 2
But it's
MVPs.
solidifying him more than just that, though. You know it is.
But my
I
thing.
want you to say it.
What?
That it's solidifying him.
Oh yeah, the ring. Well, if he has to win it first, but the ring will solidify.
But just this run, just the finals.
Listen, I feel like even
him dominating the finals.
if he loses against the Suns, he's still not top 5.
I was still having my top 5. He doesn't
He
leave
has
my
to.
top 5
I agree.
just because he loses.
I agree.
He doesn't leave my top 5.
He wins this finals though. It's not a question of whether he's top 3.
I can't have him in my top 3 right now.
You just got to think Steph had his not that he's still not on that trajectory of being an amazing scorer.
Hold on.
It's Giannis's time.
I'm going to say this. If Giannis is in the top 3, it's because he's over Kawhi, not Steph, not KD.
God, what's wrong with
over
you?
LeBron.
That's
over LeBron.
So who's your top 3?
Because
Who would be your top 3?
are we 100% certain that LeBron at age 37 is going to be best player in the world?
You're going to be this
I wanna
guy.
hear your
You're going
top
to be
three.
this guy.
I want to hear your
Bro's
top
doing
3.
it for the
Okay,
camera.
hypothetically,
He's doing it for the
Who's your top
camera.
3?
He's doing it for the camera.
Kevin Durant.
He's doing it for the camera.
Steph Curry.
He's doing it for the camera.
And Giannis Antetokounmpo.
He's doing
Who's 4? LeBron?
LeBron.
You're doing it for the camera. It's
He
simple
might
as
be
that.
dead serious.
And if he's dead
LeBron
serious,
could
he's
drop
on
off
crack.
next year. LeBron dropped off in the first round versus the Suns.
LeBron fans
What do
are
you-
very, very delusional. He
How?
can definitely drop
How?
off.
At 37,
He didn't look that good
19
against,
years in
Phoenix.
the NBA, he can't drop off?
You guys are saying that like he didn't come back 2 games before the playoffs started.
Wait, but
That's what you guys are saying.
But Drew, keep it 100. Did he not look good? Regardless, and we're saying, look, this is what we're saying. LeBron's year. He's about to be 36 or 37. He's just coming off an injury. We're saying he can definitely drop off because of the injuries and not be the same player. He didn't look
ankle injury.
He didn't look good against Phoenix. He didn't look good. Let's be honest.
He quit,
Whether he
too.
got hurt or not, I'm not saying he quit. But he didn't look good. He didn't look. AD looked like the best player of the team. Let's be honest.
I'm not.
And that's what
who's disagreeing?
That's what
with
LA
that?
needs to be
Who
because
disagreed with
LeBron
that?
didn't look good. And you're gonna say he had an ankle injury. Yeah, we get it, but
Before the ankle injury, was LeBron not MVP of the league?
The same way we bash Harden because even though he had a grade 2 hamstring,
way different.
Even
It's
though he
way
had a grade 2 hamstring, he
different.
played. LeBron played. So when
It's
you play,
way different.
you're gonna get that criticism
Dude,
regardless. If you're ready to play, you're ready to play.
I'm not saying that. You guys
He didn't
are
look good.
You guys are overanalyzing him coming back
overanalyzing a first round exit to a team that he was the favorites.
Without his sidekick to beat the Suns, who was the number 2 seed going in. It's come
The
on.
difference between that is that
and
without
the fact that
AD,
you guys are saying this when he played 2 games. He came back 2 games before the playoffs started.
This is easy.
No, let's see how
you wanna
easy
know
this
why?
is. Please.
With AD healthy, the Lakers were giving the Suns a fight. Possibly could have been the favorites to beat them. As soon as AD
They were the
went
favorites
out,
going into
as
the
soon
series.
as AD went out, LeBron got embarrassed by the Suns.
Because what else do you do? How do you game plan when no one else is
even close?
Who else was scoring? Who else was scoring on the Lakers other than LeBron?
Wait, but
Were the games close?
Who else?
Were the games
No.
close? No, exactly.
Before you
Who
answer,
else?
let me ask you a question.
But
Drew,
the Suns were better
Wait,
than the
hold on.
Lakers.
You just said that Kawhi was supposed to drop 40. Did LeBron drop 40 in any of those games? Was he supposed to do the same thing you're saying Kawhi should have done? Yes,
did
he
LeBron
should've.
have Paul
Yes,
George
he
playing
should've.
with him? Exactly, you guys. You're saying
I
that
got you.
without context, like he had his best
But
player.
even Paul George dropped 40. So what are you saying? Kawhi left. Paul George did it. LeBron couldn't do it.
But he also had a good supporting cast that was actually getting buckets.
Let me ask you a
Reggie
question.
Jackson
When
was.
AD went down,
Hold
did you
on.
pick LeBron to still win? When AD
No,
went down, did you still pick LeBron
no,
to
you
put up a
can't.
fight?
No,
to put up a fight.
No.
You're lying if you did.
No,
You still
bro,
believe LeBron was still able to put up a fight, being that you thought he was still the best player in the league. You believed that he can still
against
beat
the Suns
Phoenix.
team,
You
the way
believed
that
it.
they were playing. No, they were 100%.
were
Well, I wouldn't say 100% because Chris Paul got hurt. But he came back and he played very efficiently.
And what did LeBron
There was
play like?
no one on the Lakers playing well other than LeBron.
LeBron wasn't playing well, so nobody played well.
It's not that he wasn't playing well. He wasn't being the aggressive guy because he had only come back 2 games before that series. He wasn't in basketball shape.
Was Harden in basketball shape when he started the playoffs?
And he played like garbage.
What about KD?
Wait, James Harden had a great playoff series against the Celtics. Let's stop.
He wasn't in basketball shape.
Yeah, he wasn't.
See, with KD too. Like none of them were. Like
None of them were.
bro, they were
KD
all
wasn't
just
in
coming back from.
basketball
They were
shape.
all just coming back from injury. If not a couple of days,
Come
a week
on,
before,
man.
bro.
Come
We're not hearing
on.
that. That's not an
Bro,
excuse.
2 games before an ankle
Let me ask you a
injury
question.
also.
Let me ask you a question.
Like we've mentioned, ankle injuries are way more difficult to come back than a hamstring. We've already had this conversation.
Let me ask you a question. What has been LeBron's best attribute?
Carrying bums.
No, not that.
Oh.
What has been LeBron's best attribute 18 years into his career? The fact that he doesn't get hurt. These past 3 seasons, 2019, missed half the season versus the Lakers, got hurt. 2020 had a healthy season, but the bubble and the stoppage of the NBA season helped him a lot. Yes, it did. It didn't help him rest.
Because
it did help him rest.
Regardless of that fact, prior to the bubble even occurring, LeBron had just beaten the Bucks and the Clippers back to back. He was on his MVP tour. It was. Am I wrong by that? Am I wrong saying that?
Did the NBA stoppage not help LeBron?
Did it not help everyone?
It helped AD.
It did not help everyone.
Yes,
So then enough of that.
It helped everybody. It helped everybody.
It helped everyone.
Wait. But did it not help AD much more? A guy who gets hurt a lot?
I mean,
let me finish my point.
Come on.
Let me finish my point.
It helped everyone.
Let me
Then
finish
by
this
fact,
point.
Mr. Load Management himself should have been 100%.
Let me finish my point. So 2019, LeBron misses half the season. Lakers miss the playoffs. 2020, the NBA season stops. Okay, it helps every team.
Literally everyone.
Okay, that's not the point. It helps every team get rest. So LeBron at 35 years old was able to get more rest. AD was injury prone, was able to get more rest. Then this past
Why
season,
you say the same exact
then
thing?
this past season, LeBron misses most of the NBA season with an ankle injury
On a
and it's hurt.
freak rolled his
So what
ankle.
you're telling me is that 2 out of the last 3 seasons, LeBron has been hurt. Is it too far-fetched to say next year
He's gonna fall off
not
to
going to be the
4?
same?
He's gonna fall off to 4?
Is it a stretch to say that? Hold on. Let me finish.
It is a stretch.
Let me finish. Is it a stretch to say that next year he's not going to be the Iron Man that he was for what he's been his entire career, and he could not be as good as a 2-time MVP in his prime in Giannis.
Have your
and
moment,
Steph
bro.
Curry, who
Have your moment.
was in the
Go
MVP
ahead.
conversation.
Have your moment, because you're
and Kevin Durant,
you're looking at
outplay LeBron in the playoffs.
What's wrong with him saying that though?
You're
He's dropping off to 4. What's wrong with being 4?
See, you're saying that, but like that's not the standard. It's not the standard. Okay, 4 obviously. It's a great position to be in.
What do you guys expect out of this man?
I'm not
He's about to
saying-
be 36 years old.
37.
37, bro. He's walking in the year, what, 18?
Regardless of that fact,
19, I think.
he was 36 and he was the best player in basketball prior to tripping over someone's foot. True or false?
And then he got hurt.
It was a freak ankle
And
injury.
what we're saying is injuries could mess it up again. That's all we're saying.
So you're saying
It's
he'll
hap-
drop.
but it's happened
You're saying
twice
no.
already.
He's saying so.
can
Are
dri-
you saying that Giannis is going to surpass LeBron with this championship right after?
I'm saying
Because that's how you made it sound.
I'm saying that next year, after the 2021-2022 season is done, LeBron will not be a top 3 player
now
in the NBA.
You can make
That's
that
what I'm
statement, and I
saying.
still will disagree because
That's what I'm
you are
saying.
over.
So,
you're over
where's LeBron
analyzing
right
him.
now?
He's still 2 or 1.
Why? How?
What do you mean?
Who's
Why
2 or
or
1?
how?
Who's 2 or 1?
It's KD or LeBron.
How? Okay, so how is LeBron still 2-1? He just got bounced in the first round.
He didn't have his guy, and his supporting
Did KD
cast
have
was
his guys?
trash.
The KD
And
had
he
his
put
guys?
up what? And what did he put up?
He had a one.
He put up
He had
30
twice.
plus.
He put up 2 magnificent performances against
still
against
lost.
the Milwaukee
still
Bucks.
lost.
Yes, but
He
it's
still
but wait,
lost.
but it's different. And both guys, the two top guys went out in the second round. One guy went out. No, pardon me. One guy went out in the second, the other guy went out in the first. One guy went out sad and, like Joel said, quit on his team. The other guy put up 50 points and gave it everything
so
he
sad.
got.
29, 24, 25. That's
He didn't
so
have a 30-point
sad.
game.
In the same way
Oh
you
my
want.
God, he's by himself.
But Drew,
So KD wasn't by himself?
And
Come
LeBron
on.
had
Let's
an
stop
ankle
this.
injury. He
Let's
came
stop
back.
this.
Bro,
Let's stop this.
No, the way that you guys are talking,
Drew,
it's like LeBron didn't. He's been healthy 100%.
What's LeBron's fans' favorite line? The 51 point against Golden State. He doesn't have help. He gives it his all. He gives it all. That's our favorite line to say, right?
Okay,
That's what
I'm
y'all
waiting
love to
to hear
say.
negative.
Kevin Durant just gave it his all, put up 50 points. He had a performance, and you love to say he lost. But LeBron fans love to bring up the fact against Golden State he gave it his all, but he didn't have any help. KD didn't have help. He just
Are you going to compare playing against Golden State to playing against Milwaukee, who's been historically known for being
help.
clutch?
He still put up performances. LeBron didn't have help. Okay, we can do that all day, but he still didn't play good himself.
Dude,
if you play good yourself,
24, 25.
Wait, hold up. According to you and what you say about Kawhi, we should expect more from LeBron, though.
Absolutely.
We should have expected 30-point triple-double.
Enough of this as if you're pretending. You're saying this like LeBron had Kawhi supporting cast. That's how you're making it sound. Come on, bro.
What about KD?
Come on,
What
bro.
about KD?
Come on.
What about
That's
KD?
your way of getting it
What
out.
about KD?
That's not what it is.
Listen, I'm giving KD his respect. Am I saying KD's not 1 or 2? Am I saying that?
But you're saying.
Am I saying KD's not
where's
1 or
KD?
2?
Is he 1?
No.
He is 1.
I would not
He's
say 1.
definitely 1.
Not going to say 1. Not going to say 1.
KD is definitely
Yo, LeBron,
1.
y'all gotta stop, bro. This LeBron thing, y'all gotta
Oh my
stop.
God, LeBron.
I give him my flowers. He's 2 to me. I give him 2. But 1 is Kevin Durant.
We're going to move on to the next topic because this has been going on for way too long.
For real.
50
Hour
points.
flat.
I mean, it's easy though that LeBron could drop off next year.
Easy. Yeah, no, it's
could.
so easy.
He
No,
could.
for sure. It's
He could.
so easy.
I mean,
It's
this guy's
so
coming.
easy.
He's not been the Iron Man that he's been for the past 3 years. So
No
we'll see
doubt,
what
bro.
happens.
He better
So
hope
easy.
AD healthy. That's all I'm saying.
I mean,
hope
KD
so.
better hope that Harden and Kyrie are healthy.
I mean, KD's gonna put up 50 regardless.
and he won't win a championship
LeBron won't win one either.
without AD. I agree. No one's questioning that.
But we're tired of seeing.
Who's questioning? You're tired of it. You're right. You're tired of it. You don't want to see anymore.
No. I'm tired of seeing LeBron put up weak performances.
Weak performances. 'Cause
24 points in a blowout is not that cool. It's actually embarrassing.
Bro, his
at
team
home,
is
you got
not
blown out at home.
good.
That's embarrassing.
it's not good.
In LA,
The team's
that's
not
embarrassing
good.
to the greats of the Los Angeles Lakers.
And KD
Kareem,
lost at home,
Magic.
did he not?
Well, they have Jason Kidd. Nobody cares. But Kareem, Shaq, Magic, Kobe,
Did he
James
not?
Worthy,
Did he not just
Elgin
lose at
Baylor.
home?
So
Embarrassing.
Riv, I want to show you something. So
You mean tell me something?
yeah, I want to tell you something. So LeBron's career averages in the playoffs are 29, 9, and 7. Versus the Suns, he averaged 23, 7, and 7.
What's the splits?
And field goal percentage wise in the playoffs for his career, he shoots 50%
Let him
from
finish,
the
let him
field.
finish, let him finish.
He shot 47% from the field versus
no,
the
because
Suns.
Let him finish,
Bro,
bro.
you guys are saying this like he did not come
just
back
let him
too.
Whoa,
finish.
he shot 61% from the free throw line. His average is 74%.
He's been a bad free
He's been a
throw
70% free throw shooter, not a 60%
good.
free throw shooter.
Man,
not good.
Which he was.
What's
Let's
bad?
not, LeBron
You guys are
underperformed in
saying
the playoffs. Let's call it what it is. A spade. He
bro.
underperformed
Go ahead, have your
moment. Ever since
and got
spade is spade.
embarrassed in
Have
Game
your
5
moment.
and
Have your
Game
moment.
6.
At home.
Have your moment because next year when we're in the exact same time,
Yeah.
next year it's going to be completely
LeBron won't
different.
be in the finals.
All right, bro.
He
No,
won't be
have
in
that
the
opinion.
I'm-
Have
no,
that
I'm-
opinion.
I'm gonna let him
Have
be
that
in it.
opinion.
You quote me right
Have
now.
that
He won't
opinion.
be in the
No,
finals.
we're gonna clip this 100%.
He won't be in the
No,
finals.
have your moment.
He won't be in the
have your moment
WCF.
because you guys are overanalyzing an ankle
won't
injury
be in the
when he
WCF.
came back 2 games
AD's
before the regular
all right,
season.
you have Anthony
ended,
Davis still.
100%.
You have
Go ahead.
Anthony Davis still. He
Okay.
won't be in the WCF. I promise
All right, no
you.
problem.
LA will
Okay.
not get that far.
Okay.
You better hope
Okay.
you get Dame.
Okay.
You better hope.
Okay.
You better pray to God.
Because we were going to win this series without Dame
Yeah,
if
we don't-
Anthony Davis was
yeah.
healthy. What do you mean? Because you had that
well,
too.
the Anthony Davis thing, he's gonna get hurt all the time, so you can't really.
You could say this in hindsight too, but he was healthy last year and we won a
yeah, when you
championship.
took a break,
Everyone took a break.
that helps guys like that.
Everyone took a break. And Kawhi should have had the
He was healthy. He just choked.
Mr. Lord, and they didn't.
Yeah,
and
he
they
just
didn't.
choked.
That's
but
my
he was
point.
healthy though.
And he,
that's
and
my
he choked.
point. He was
And
healthy
he choked.
though.
We're just
LeBron
talking
and
about
AD
strictly
didn't.
health.
Yeah, we're just talking about strictly
health.
health. He was healthy. That's all it was.
And AD and LeBron were healthy.
Not this year. Nah.
Okay, and neither
AD
was
was a
Kawhi.
shell of himself.
And
Christian
neither was
Wood was better than
Kawhi.
him this year.
And his team won. Imagine that.
Who?
Can-
Talk about the
Ka-
Mickey Mouse ring? I don't care about that Mickey
no,
Mouse ring.
no. I'm talking about the Utah Jazz that Kawhi went out and the Jazz are the better team on paper. And
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
just like
Clippers
how
still
AD
won.
went out and LeBron couldn't win against Phoenix.
Because the
number 2
supporting
seed.
cast was
What's Utah?
trash.
Number what?
Number 1.
Are you guys going to
interesting.
ignore the fact that his supporting cast was trash?
Next
No,
topic.
Keep supporting. Keep that up. that his supporting cast was good. Keep going.
So LeBron's supporting cast is trash, and the Lakers have
still
no
had him
cap
to win.
space to make it better.
Okay, and we saw with Anthony Davis and LeBron alone, we could beat the number 2 seed that's in the finals
was
right
up
now.
to-
And Dennis
One.
Schroeder going now.
Okay, we're gonna upgrade.
Upgrade to
How?
what?
You
It's
have no
gonna be
cap
better.
space.
I mean, you get rid of Dennis Schroeder, the cap will open up.
You still
They-
have
they
Kyle
still-
Kuzma. You
It's
have KCP.
LeBron. Kuzma's gone. He's getting traded.
For what? A bag of chips and
Yes,
money?
correct.
Bro, he's All right.
Because that's what they're valuing, man.
Listen.
Do yourself the favor and move on to the next topic.
You won't make it to the WCF.
Because you guys are having your moment.
You can hear it.
You guys are having your moment, and I'm sure that you're loving this. I'm sure. I'm surprised at you, but because you're doing it for the cameras.
I'm not doing it for the cameras.
Nah, bro.
I know the Lakers won't be in the finals next year.
No,
I know it.
Who in the Western Conference will go to the finals?
Not the Lakers.
The Clippers.
If Kawhi comes back,
the Clippers,
we're going back. We're going back. We're going to the WCF.
Not the Lakers.
If the Kawhi
Who's
comes
going
back,
to the Western
I'm telling you
Conference
right now.
Finals
Listen
then?
to me.
Because you're
the
picking the
Lakers.
field. That's so easy. That's
the
so
Lakers.
easy.
No, he's not picking the Lakers.
No, he's picking the field.
But he's not picking the Lakers.
You're
Not the
picking the
Lakers.
field. Then
Not
who?
the Lakers.
Then who?
Not the
I
Lakers.
would have
Because
the
we
Clippers over them.
Because we just saw the Lakers give fits to the team that's in the finals
Fits.
with just AD and LeBron.
Didn't you get blown out at home?
Without AD.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Yes,
But I want to talk about this
please.
final thing. I'm not doing it for the cameras.
You are.
It's just that your
You are.
arguments and the context that you're providing for each of your arguments contradict one another. Like
How?
you talked about how Kawhi has to perform at not even his season average, but at an all-time
I didn't
average.
say that. I said he's.
You said he's expected to
supposed-
drop 40.
I didn't say that. I said he's expected to beat the Mavericks. That's what you heard.
No,
No,
we were
that's
talking
what
about
you
points.
heard.
We were talking about points.
No, I
We were talking
said
about
he's
points.
expected to beat the Mavericks. I've been on the show. We can go back.
This is
when I
very-
said he's
This is the thing.
supposed to win.
Kawhi Leonard doesn't have a great game versus the Nuggets last year. You love to rag on that.
He didn't have a good. He did not close out. Simple.
LeBron James was up on the Suns, was he not?
2-1 when
He
he
didn't
lost
close
his
out,
guy.
though. He didn't
had
close out.
Paul George.
Wait,
he had the same
did
roster
the Lakers
as last
even
year.
give a fight in Game 5 and 6?
No.
It was embarrassing.
No, it was.
LeBron didn't play up to his standards.
He was hurt.
Okay, but did he? Yes or no? Did he play up to his standards?
Who's saying yes? Who?
You're not saying no.
I'm
You're
not
definitely
saying
not
he
saying no.
did.
You're not
I'm
saying no.
I'm.
Yes or no? Answer the
You
question.
guys
please.
are hearing what you guys
Yes or
want to
no?
hear.
Answer
No,
the
you
question.
just keep
He
bringing
did
up the
not.
injury.
Yes or no?
Okay,
What
he
do
did
you
not.
mean?
Simple
But
as that.
But it's
as simple as that.
I don't need to say it. It's obvious.
That's the argument that we're making, though. That he didn't play up
No.
to his level.
But you guys are overanalyzing him not playing to his level.
No, I'm analyzing the fact that 2 of the last 3 years he has been hurt, and next year.
But was that first year in LA going to be a championship run?
They were the 4th seed in the Western Conference.
Was that going to be a
but it
championship
would be
run?
quite a good
No.
run.
They were
Good
going to
run.
go to the WCF probably.
No, because if they would have stayed at 4, they probably would have played. Oh, Houston. Would they have beat Houston?
I don't know. 2019 Houston?
They wouldn't have beat Golden State.
2019 Houston, they could have beat
We're
them.
not being Golden State.
Unless KD gets hurt, then it's fine.
2019 Houston, they could have beat them.
Yeah,
They could have beat
they
them.
could have beat a
Come
team
on,
without KD.
man.
Golden State, they could have beat them.
Yeah. Like, come on, bro. Like, I'm only saying that 2 of the last 3 years, LeBron has been hurt. It's not far-fetched to say that next year
You guys are
he's not going
overanalyzing.
to he's
an
not going to
ankle
stay healthy
injury
either.
That he came back 2 games before the regular season ended. No, duh, he wasn't in basketball shape. No, duh.
Harden did the same thing.
And
happened.
Harden played like trash too.
No. Harden played great against the Celtics.
He
but
got
then
hurt again.
He
and he came
re-aggravated.
back.
Okay, but he came back on an injury.
But like we said, hamstring is a lot easier to play on than an ankle injury. Yes, please go to the next topic.
Wait, hold up. Riv, did I say that Harden played good against the Bucks?
But
I
who
never
said
said
that
it.
LeBron played good?
You were
No,
saying it.
I
No,
It's not
said
you
time.
just
Right.
never answered. You just kept diving for the fact that he didn't play good. You never said
What
no.
do you mean?
I kept asking you, did he play good?
And
You
I
never
said,
answered.
I
You kept just
said
bringing up
he
the
did
ankle
not play well.
Yeah, after
But
we
it's-
finally asked you. But
you
before
know,
that,
you guys
You said he didn't
you
play well
guys
right
just-
now.
What do you mean? The whole time it's you
and then
guys
you shot
just,
us numbers.
even with that fact, he still put up 25 plus.
He put 23, not 25.
We put him with the MJs, right?
25, 24, 29. Anthony Davis was doing the majority of the scoring
Drew,
early in the series.
Drew,
Talking about LeBron.
Exactly.
Drew.
He averaged 23.
But when 80 went out, LeBron upped his scoring averages.
But LeBron averaged 23 for the series.
I understand that.
we put
but
him up.
when LeBron,
we put him up there with MJ, bro. That's not acceptable.
He was hurt.
For the first 2 games of the series, were we not waiting on LeBron to be aggressive?
Yeah.
Because I think we were waiting on that too.
Games 2 and Game 3, LeBron wasn't aggressive, and it was
Game 1 too.
not,
Game
not
1
close.
Because of AD. AD
Game
was
1
dominating.
I agree. My point. That's my point.
Our point is
In these
LeBron didn't play
playoffs, wait, hold up. Let's ask this question. In these playoffs,
LeBron
who
was
have been
hurt.
the top players in these playoffs? It has been Kawhi.
KD.
It has been KD.
Giannis.
It has been Giannis.
Trae Young.
It has that's a
Donovan
good one.
Mitchell, Luka.
That's a good one. LeBron has not even been a top 5 performer in these playoffs.
Have your moment.
Is
No,
it
it's a
crazy?
fact.
Have your moment.
He
I
is
think
it,
Paul George has
Have
played
your
better.
moment.
That's just me though.
It's not
Have your
crazy to
moment.
say that next season, after the 2022 season is over, LeBron will be the 4th player in the world. He might even be out the top 5.
Have your moment. Have your moment. Because when Giannis wins this chip, it's going to be the same thing, dude.
Let me guess, LeBron's going to run the table next year.
Nah, we'll see.
I think
we'll
Giannis
see.
is top 5 already, so it's cool.
That's okay. Because listen, there's been a record of you having questionable basketball opinions, so we'll see what happens. That's
I know.
it.
My opinion is that the Suns will win the championship. We'll still see what happens.
And we'll see about that because you would pick Milwaukee to beat the Clippers, but the Clippers just almost beat the Suns without their best player.
I think that if the Clippers face the Suns, even with a healthy Kawhi, it was going to be a close series.
And the Suns would win?
I'm not saying they would win.
Because we sat
but
here
I
on the show
I
saying that the Clippers would have won.
I do think it would have been a 6-7 game series. I do think so.
I think
people are underrating the Suns a lot.
I think Clippers won in 5 with Kawhi.
You're going in circles.
No, I'm not. You've
are.
been the only person going to circles this whole time. 2 of the top players in the world right now are Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama. Victor is from France. I think that's how you say his name.
I was just about to ask you figured out his name?
Wembanyama.
Wembanyama.
Nice last name.
And USA won 83-81. Chet Holmgren won the MVP for, I think, the tournament or the game itself. But he wasn't even a top 4 scorer. Jaden Ivey, Kenneth Lofton Jr., Adam Miller, and Michael Miles all scored more points than him. And Victor Wembanyama had an awesome game. 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 blocks. Who do you think won this showdown? I mean, I don't even think this is really a question, but just looking forward to the future, Holmgren versus Victor, who was the better guy?
I think, Victor, because he showed us more. He showed his defensive versatility. He showed us the fact that he can stretch out, and it may not have went in. I know he was 1 for 5 from the 3-point line, but you saw the form. It's nice. It's a nice stroke, so it looks like it can definitely put in some work. He showed that he has a little bit of a post game. He's still a little skinny. He needs work, but he showed that his back to the basket game is at a right level for his age. He has soft, nice soft touch around the rim, and I think for a big man at that height, that size, his offensive game is more advanced than Rudy Gobert. So I think being that is incredible, and his defensive versatility. I'm not saying it's Rudy Gobert, but it's great at this age. Mm-hmm. So I think. Chet has always been a promising prospect. I remember him coming out, crossing Steph Curry in the scrimmages. Yeah, I remember that. He's always been a promising, but I think Victor offers more to the table. I think being the fact that he's more confident in his game. You've seen, I think Chet playing with other players maybe have hindered him a little bit. Mm-hmm. But with Victor, you saw a lot more confidence. He wanted the matchup. Sure. It was clear that he wanted to go at Chet, and you saw it. Like, he showed a lot. Chet is a really good stud, but I think, Victor just showed more. He wanted more that game.
I think Victor showed out significantly more than this guy, Chet. I mean, you saw it. If you watched a little bit of the game, you could see that when Victor was on offense, he was going at Chet. And then Chet realized, man, I can't guard this guy. And then you saw him switch off, and then Chet was doing whatever he wanted. Victor was doing whatever he wanted. And then on the defensive side of it, this guy Chet really couldn't get anything going on Wembanyama. Wembanyama was able to be dominant down low. His shot blocking was really solid. And just watching that game, Chet just wanted nothing to do with Victor. And especially with Chet being one of the more touted players right now in going into next season, it's really something to tell just on Victor, who's 1 year away from taking that step. Victor, it just seems like he's just so much more refined. His offensive game just seems way more clean. He's got a little bit more size on Chet too. I'm pretty sure he's 2 inches taller than him. But just as an overall player, I'm just wowed more by Victor's game.
I think Victor is next level. I think he's Kristaps Porzingis, but a Kristaps Porzingis that actually uses his size. He plays with his back to the basket. He rolls to the basket. He plays like a 7'2" guy, 7'3"
He's
guy.
7'3", man. That's
KP
crazy.
is more of a perimeter-oriented big man. I think Victor is much more than that. He's so versatile, and he's an elite defender. He had 8 block shots. He's the real deal. And watching this matchup, watching Victor versus Chet, obviously there are better players on USA than on France. But I think Chet kind of backed down. He looked a little bit timid. He started off the game hot. He had like 5 points in the first couple of minutes. He had an easy bucket in transition, then he had a 3 in Victor's face. I don't know what people see in Chet. I think he's a good prospect. I think 7'1", can shoot, can handle the ball somewhat. He has his pros, definitely, but in the NBA, is he a small forward? Absolutely not. Doesn't have the speed.
Stretch 4.
Is he a 4? Possibly, but I think he's going to struggle defensively. And at 5, he is just too skinny right now.
Reminds me of Poku.
We talked about it before the show.
I think he's a little bit scrawnier than Poku.
He's really
even though Poku was scrawny.
He reminds me a lot of Chris Boucher. A lot of Chris Boucher.
I think what people like in Chet is the shooting stroke. You know, it's, you know, a 7'2" guy that can shoot the ball from deep and has range to block shots. You know, it's always going to be a fascinating thing.
No doubt.
And I think that's what people fall in love with Chet. I think Chet going to Gonzaga is going to help him a lot. You know, that's somewhere where you could definitely develop your game. But I think, you know, with Victor, you just seen the European in him. You know, just the versatility in his game, the inside-outside game.
Can go into the NBA right now.
He was supposed to be the
and
number one
drop
pick.
20.
100%.
They say he could have been number 1 right now.
He could go to the NBA right now and drop 20 in the
Wholeheartedly
game.
agree.
No doubt about it. I think Chet would really struggle in the NBA right now. And he's not supposed to, you know, be in NBA right now because he's only 18 years old.
Is he number 1 recruit right now?
Chet? He's number 1 on mock drafts right now for next season. Next season's draft.
Watching that game, I couldn't see it. Victor just outperformed him significantly.
Victor's after him, right? He's in Imani's class?
Yep.
He's in Imani's class.
And that should be an interesting class, man.
Imani Bates versus Victor. I love Victor, but I like Imani a lot. I love
I'm
Imani
sorry.
Bates.
I'm going to take the 6'11" bucket every day.
Imani, you're saying?
Yeah,
dude. Imani's KD. He's a poor man's KD right now.
I got to take but, you know, there's a lot of guys, you know, Chet, he's a weird guy. You know, me personally, I think if you guys ever get a chance, watch Jalen Duren.
Okay.
I think he's better than Chet right now.
Jaden Hardy.
Jaden Hardy's another good one. He's a strong bucket. But there's a lot of guys. You know, Chet, it's just the size, the versatility, the wingspan. He kind of has that Porzingis hype to him coming out of high school.
What do you look at Chet and think he needs to work on this?
Strength.
Okay.
Easily
his aggressiveness down low in the paint. He's just not big body enough to bump and grind down there.
I just think it's his body. I just think right now he doesn't have an NBA body.
He can get bullied. He was getting bullied by guards.
So do you think that his game, his max potential would be how Kristaps plays?
I think he could be better than Porzingis.
Really? Chet?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if he can, man.
I don't think so either.
No, I think he can be better than Porzingis.
I just saw him go up against one of the top guys, and he looked like a puppy.
I think the only difference, I feel like the Porzingis thing, injuries messed him up.
Very true.
That's what really hindered Porzingis.
True. Very true.
I think he's going to be what he is right now. I think
just 20 and 10.
Yeah, I think Chet can be a little bit,
You
not
think
20
Chet
and 10.
that's what I'm
what
wondering.
about like 23 and 7, 8? I don't think he can be the 10 rebounding, but I think with his jump shot, he'll be able to get into the 20.
At 7'1", you need to hit double-digit rebounding.
I don't think so. At this age?
True.
In this new NBA,
very true.
Dirk never did it.
Very true.
He was just a scoring machine.
That's very true also.
I think Chet is like a 17 and 7 guy.
That isn't bad.
Yeah. I don't think that's Porzingis though.
That was his rookie year.
I look at this guy, and like you mentioned already, he could surpass Porzingis because he wants to bump and grind down low and has the ability.
I think Victor he's a future MVP.
I think he's about 2010.
Dude, he is amazing at basketball.
I think he's 26, 10, and 3.
It's not that far fetched.
26 is crazy though.
It's not that far fetched because he can shoot, and he's only going to get stronger.
You can't say that because we don't know that. Some guys' bodies just aren't built to be that.
How old is he? 17?
I honestly don't know.
He might be 17.
I'll look it up right now.
He is 17 because Chet is 18.
Yeah,
but this is U19 though. Just to play the.
He might just be playing up. He could be 16. You honestly never
17.
know.
I said 17.
Oh, I'm saying he could be 16.
17, January 4th.
So he just turned 17.
So he's 17. They've been recruiting this guy since he was 13.
Might have been before. They be recruiting.
And France almost beat Team USA, who is stacked right now.
And Victor went out in the fourth quarter as well and missed.
He had foul trouble.
Chunk of time.
He had a foul trouble.
I still got Imani.
I got Imani Bates too.
It's not that far fetched to take
Imani is almost
obviously.
his size, doing Kevin
because
Durant.
Imani has that crazy ball handling and the speed.
That's gonna be a wicked draft,
dude. It's gonna be awesome.
I need the Bulls to get number 1.
Here we go.
That could be a
him and Zach. Oh my god,
that'd be awesome, bro.
That could be a Hakeem Jordan / draft.
Sneaky.
Or it could be
sneaky.
It could be a Greg Oden healthy KD draft.
Could be.
Or if you never know, there's injury risk with Wembanyama, so
because of how tall he is,
he could be the first guy, and Imani goes second, and he's just like
bites him in the ass.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're
wait,
just
no. Wait, who? KD went second, right?
Second.
Okay, yeah.
But Greg Oden was a dog, though.
He
There was a
was.
reason why he went first.
It's tragic. We had the what if section. He could have easily been a what if.
I'm about to look at their class right now.
2022?
Yeah, Imani's class.
I'll look up KD's draft.
It's Imani Bates, Jalen Duren, Amari Bailey's really good too.
Yeah.
Keontae George, Chris Livingston. There's a lot of guys in
Amari Bailey's getting a clown on social media right now.
because Drake is dating his mom.
Yeah.
She looks good though.
She is
listen,
bad.
man.
This draft class is pretty good. Greg Oden, KD, Al Horford, Mike Conley, Jeff Green, Joakim Noah went
You guys
9th.
know, Joel, you might know more. You know Paola Banchero?
Yeah, he's going to Duke.
Yeah, he's with Chet. Patrick Baldwin Jr. is with Chet.
I don't like Patrick Baldwin Jr. again.
Too skinny. He's like built like him.
Yeah.
Marcus Gasol was also in
I
this.
used to go like Chet.
Caleb Houston, he was playing the other day for
He's
Canada.
good. He's good.
He plays for Canada. Michael Kennedy Chandler's in this one. There's this dude, they call him like Peyton Watson. He's like this rare unicorn type of player. You guys should look him up. He's like a different beast.
Peyton Watson, you said?
Yeah, he's going to UCLA.
There are a lot of good prospects. And
He's a grown man.
on to this next topic, there are a lot of NBA rumors
6'7".
and news that came out this past week, and specifically today. But one of the biggest storylines was that the Orlando Magic found a new head coach. They hired head coach Jamahl Mosley. They agreed to a 4-year deal, and Jamahl Mosley has 15 years of coaching experience, not head coaching.
Yep.
Just coaching experience. 4 years as a developmental coach and assistant with the Nuggets, 4 years in Cleveland, and 7 years in Dallas. And he's gotten a co-sign from Luka. These are some quotes from his press conference from him. When talking about the Magic drawing free agents, he said, "It always goes back to what we said before. It goes back to relationships. On Mosley building relationships with his players, he said that I really believe it's about the human first." And then when Jamahl Mosley was asked about the style of play, he says he wants to play with pace, and he wants to play with space, and he wants to play with the pass. So these are a lot of things that Magic fans are excited about right now. And Jamahl Mosley, I think, is going to do a good job. He's in a great position to succeed with the Magic because they have the 5th overall pick and the 8th overall pick. The 8th overall pick has been a cursed pick.
He's picking James Bucknight.
I think
the way he just explained everything, he's picking. But my question, and I like the hire. Let me start by saying that I think this was a great hire. This was probably the best. You know, you get a cosign from Luka, you're
No doubt.
top of the class. But I think this was a good hire. They got somebody who's gonna fit. But I'm just curious about what he says and the fit with the team. You know,
In what way?
because he said, repeat it one more time, just so I know I'm
It
not.
says play with pace, space, and with the pass.
Space. Isaac can't shoot. Cole can't shoot. Wendell Carter not really.
I wouldn't say Cole can't shoot. He's not a great shooter.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You made me lose my train. Like I
Space.
said, Isaac can't shoot. Cole can't shoot. Markelle Fultz can't shoot.
Agreed.
Wendell can't really shoot. Okeke, you're probably gonna pick Kuminga. He can't really shoot right now. Bucknight, you're probably gonna get an 8. His efficiency wasn't good, but he takes tough shots regardless. So that's why his efficiency is that low. So my question is, what type of space are you talking about? And pace, I can get it. This team, I feel like this team can play fast.
Definitely.
This team can definitely up tempo, get it going. But the spacing, this team was one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league last year. And Isaac isn't, is coming off an AC, not an AC. He's coming off an injury. I can't remember
ACL, it is
ACL.
ACL.
Okay, he's coming off an ACL injury. There's a lot of guys on this team. Young. This is a very young team. So that's for starters. Getting the coach in the gel with the young core is good. But I'm confused on what these players I don't think fit with the spacing part of what he wants to say. And I think that comes in the draft. I think they're going to address that immediately.
I think given the fact that this is his first real head coaching experience, first head coaching job, and the fact that this team is so young, it's exactly what Orlando needs right now. You get a coach that has been in player development his entire career, and right now Orlando is one big project right now. You want these young guys to develop into players that you could make an actual playoff push. And with the East getting relatively competitive recently with the additions of Miami's that they've made, Trae Young's arrival now in Atlanta, Milwaukee being dominant, obviously the Nets, Boston's young core. it's going to be a conference that you're going to want one of these guys to really break out, and you bring in a head coach that has that development experience in the past, and you give him an opportunity to actually do it his own way and actually start it from the ground up. I love the hire, and the fact that these guys are so young, it just allows him to get to them quicker than as to opposed to, let's say they were 26, 27. You really already know what these players are going to be. These guys are all relatively young. He could take these guys to the next level if there were anyone.
The Magic's top 3-point shooters right now are James Ennis, who I believe is a free agent, and Ignas Brazdeikis, and I know who that is because I am a Knicks fan. Right? He shot 40% from 3 and averaged 11 points per game with Orlando. And they also, Moritz Wagner shot 37% from the 3. He averaged 11, and he played like LeBron for his team in FIBA these past couple of days. Gary Harris, you know what you're getting out of him. Kiki shot 35% from 3. So that's not bad.
He had a good showing towards the end of the season. That was a really good analysis by you on the spacing part. They really don't have that many great shooters.
They don't have great shooters. I think they can play with pace.
They're very athletic, though.
They definitely are athletic. So definitely they could play with some pace, but
I do think that defensively this team will be fine. And like I mentioned, we talked about the Magic a couple episodes ago, and the point guard spot is a mystery to me because I like Markelle Fultz, but I'm not sure if he really...
I think he's a 2 more than anything.
I don't know if he's going to develop
Fultz,
into what we think he could develop into. I'm insanely high on RJ Hampton. I love RJ Hampton's game. I think he should be the guy. But, of course, I think it's probably going to be given to Markelle Fultz because they did sign him to a pretty big contract. But this draft is huge. Number 5, I think they do go with Kuminga. If he's there, because Toronto could draft Kuminga.
Oof.
They could very well draft Kuminga.
Suggs won't go to Orlando.
You don't think Suggs goes to Orlando?
I don't think it makes sense.
It doesn't because they already guard.
But if they're going for best talent,
I was going to say at that point you have to take best available.
I don't think Suggs is that guy where you have to go best available.
I feel like Orlando's not in a position to not.
But I think if Green was there or if Cade was there, you go best guy.
Of course, that's obvious.
Those are the only 2 guys you could say. You know,
but people think Suggs could go 2.
That's true.
I think Jalen Suggs, regardless of how guard heavy the Magic are, would be the Magic's a legitimate point guard for them.
Yeah.
Cole Anthony, Hampton, Markelle, more 2 guards. Jalen Suggs would be a legitimate point guard who can play on both ends, who could shoot as well, which would be good for them as well. But let's say they don't go Jalen Suggs and they go for another guy. It's probably Scotty. And you probably have him at that 3 spot. And I'm not sure how much I love that in terms of offensive potential. But at 8, I think it's between 2 guys at number 8. I think it's Buck Knight and I think it's Moody.
100%.
And I flip back and forth on who they should pick because I think Buck Knight is a professional scorer. I think he's a top 3 scorer in this draft.
He's what they need.
Yeah, he's definitely the 2nd or 3rd best scorer in this draft. Cam Thomas has a debate over him. I love Cameron Thomas's game.
He has no debate.
Yes, he does have a debate over him. But James Buck Knight reminds me a lot of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's high praise, but I think just the smoothness of his game, his handle, getting to his spots, hitting tough shots, he reminds me a lot of Shai. I don't know if you agree with that.
I see a lot. I see Shai. I see a little bit of Monte. I see a lot of guys. In my opinion, I think he's the best scorer in the draft. The reason why
Green?
Yeah, I think because he has more. He can get to his spots better than Green, and I think he has more versatility in his game than Green. I see Green a lot making tough jump shots, but I've seen Buck Knight make tough jump shots and get to the basket, finish strong. He's very quick on the fast break. He's one of the fastest, and he's a tough finisher on the fast break. So James Buck Knight on offense, I don't see, aside from efficiency, I don't see any weakness in his game. His handle is smooth. Mm-hmm. I do think at 8, if he's there, I don't think they blink on it. I think they'll take him at 8. 5, I think, is the most tricky spot for them because, like you said, Barnes and Kuminga or Suggs could be there. It's tough because, you know, you bring in Barnes, and now you have Barnes and Isaac playing the 3 and 4, and that's like Barnes, whether he develops a jump shot later down the road or not. Right now, I don't think he has it, and Isaac doesn't have a jump shot right now, so that's going to be tough in terms of the spacing. Kuminga's going to be the same thing, but I think, you know, bringing in Barnes would be good because he's another playmaker. And Cole, I won't say he's not a playmaker, but that's not like his primary thing. Same with Markelle Fultz. They're more scoring guards than anything. So you bring in Barnes, somebody who can add a little bit of that defense, what Magic thrive on, and that playmaking, bringing that in. I think that would be good. But I think Buck Knight definitely goes to 8.
I feel like because of that, I would go Moody because he's that 3-and-D type of player where he could still get you a bucket, but he's still really efficient on the defensive side of the ball. But I have a question. Do you think Buck Knight makes it 2-8?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think Golden State?
I think Golden State goes Moody
not going
or
guard again.
Mitchell.
Golden State goes with a player who can
Who's
impact
smart.
them right away, who can play defense, who can shoot efficiently from 3. That is Davion Mitchell.
Okay.
That is Moody type of guy.
Okay.
I think Scotty Barnes, if he falls by any chance, that is
Perfect
their guy.
fit, definitely.
That is their guy.
I don't think they go in Buck Knight.
Buck Knight will definitely be there at 8.
Okay.
If they do, though, that'd be
It would be
crazy,
just because they skipped out on LaMelo last season and kind of bit him in the butt a little.
I think they're going to go for guys who can fit with Steph and Clay, and I think the best guy for that is Mitchell, but I think Moody would probably be the best guy that can just seamlessly just jump in there with Steph and Clay and work well with them because he can start, too, if they need him to start in case somebody get injured.
Okay.
And that's why I disagree with not blinking on Buck Knight because I think Moses Moody is the safest player
Me too.
amongst these lottery picks. I think Moses Moody, he reminds me of an Orlando Magic player right now, Gary Harris, a guy who's going to be steady, who's going to give you 15 points per game, shoot efficient from the field and from the 3, be a very good defender. I think Moses Moody is that good.
But if you're in Orlando, do you want a safe guy or do you want a guy who can possibly be an elite scorer in the NBA, which is what you need?
That's a tough question because James Buck Knight could be an elite scorer or he could be Terrence Ross.
That is true. But they already got Terrence Ross on the team.
For me, I think Moses Moody is like, okay, I know what I'm getting.
Mm-hmm.
His floor is Gary Harris at worst, in my opinion.
Right.
His ceiling is unknown. It could be Chris Middleton. It could be an all-star caliber type of player because he's still very young. He's only a freshman.
I'm with you, man.
So he still has that ceiling as well. So I think it is a tough decision at 8. 5 is easy. If Kuminga's there, you could take him. I think even if Suggs is there, you could take him. You know, because
I think Kuminga, Suggs, or Barnes, you take whoever.
Would you be surprised if they went Scotty Barnes and Moody?
No.
I feel
They played together, too.
What they need right now is a little bit more of they need an identity. And if they choose that defense is their identity, we've seen it work over in New York where at least they're making a playoff push.
Right.
They need something right now. Right now, they don't have much going for them. I feel like you pick one or the other. Either you go all in on offense and you go and you grab Kuminga and you go grab Buck Knight, or you go Barnes and then you take Moody as well.
That's the beauty of it. They play with each other at Montverde. That was the best high school team ever in life. And they're both smart guys, smart high IQ level players. And you don't lose that space with Moody. And both of them play defense at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's a pretty great draft for them.
Definitely.
In the first round. Yeah, either way. I think Barnes and Moody is a great draft for him. So I don't see what's wrong with that.
What do you think about that?
I think that would be pretty good because I like Scotty Barnes defensively, and I like Moody. I think he is one of the safest picks in this draft. But the Magic are intriguing to me because throughout their history of being an NBA franchise, they got Shaquille O'Neal, and then they got Dwight Howard. They've always lucked on getting the number 1 overall pick and getting an elite center. Who's to say that these next 2 years, the Magic could be very bad? And if they look out and get another awesome center prospect and this guy right here, Victor Wembanyama.
Magic?
And then the Magic could get Victor as well with whoever they're drafting.
Victor, we're like waiting for him to get into the league.
I think he's going to be awesome.
Oh, my God.
And the Magic have a history of drafting centers at 1.
Do you not see them trying to move up at all in this draft? I feel like 5 and 8 is so valuable.
But I think they would only
to
move
go
up
get
for
a Mobley.
1.
Why not get Mobley?
They don't. I'm not gonna say they don't need him, but I think Magic are in a great position right now because they can get 2 guys, and I think they would only move up if Detroit says yes.
Okay,
we'll give you one
just for the 1.
Yeah, if you give us 1,
you wouldn't do it for Jalen Green.
No, because I think Buck Knight. I think Buck Knight is just as good as Jalen Green. I think Jalen Green, the hype with him is his athletic ability.
Mm-hmm.
I think he may have Bradley Beal's ceiling, but James Buck Knight can be that type of scorer. Not like, but he can be that type of scorer, and I think their identity is going to be fine regardless. But I think if Detroit says, if we say we got 5 and 8 for you, You give us one, and Detroit says deal. Yeah, you do it, hands down.
They also have the Bulls pick in 2023.
Don't shut up.
So they have a bunch of first round picks
Please,
from y'all.
don't even remind me.
So the Houston Rockets, you talked about the Magic possibly trading for number one. The Rockets have been very aggressive in trying to acquire the top pick from Detroit. And I asked the question when this news came out. Is it to secure Jalen Green or to draft Cade? I think it's to draft Cade, no doubt about it. And they could package the number 2 pick. Of course, that would have to be in the deal. Picks 23 and 24. And if they don't want to package those, maybe they can give up Jayshawn Tate, maybe a Kenyon Martin Jr. or a Daniel House possibly. But to me, man, this is big news because I think the Rockets need a franchise-changing player. And what this tells me is that they like Jalen Green. They might even love him as a prospect. But Cade Cunningham is just on a different level than all these other guys that they are willing to go all in to just get him. And it would be smart because with Jalen Green right now, if he gets drafted to Houston, you now have a void with John Wall there. Because John Wall, he's not coming off the bench. That's John Wall. Mm-hmm. He's going to start. So now you're going to have John Wall, Jalen Green, and KPJ. That doesn't seem like a very great trio. With Cade, you have Cade, KPJ, and John Wall. You have 3 very good high-level playmakers, and that could be very good for a guy like Christian Wood, who had an all-star level season last year.
Don't forget Tate.
I mean, not an all-star level season.
No, I'm saying he's good, too. Yeah.
Jayshawn Tate is good. He also is 26 years old.
Yeah.
One of the older rookies in the draft.
A minute. Yeah.
That's crazy.
He played with D'Lo.
Yeah.
But also the Pistons are rumored to be very high on Jalen Green. They are high on Jalen Green, so maybe Detroit this whole time wants to go Green. And a report came out on Twitter today that I saw that the Pistons and Dwayne Casey asked the draft prospects, these prospects, if they make their bed. And that's how they decide whether they're going to be good pros.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Cade is from Houston, if I'm not mistaken. So if not Houston, he's from Texas. So
he played at Oklahoma State, so they're very close by.
Yeah, hometown favorite, and Detroit, I don't know, it's weird. Houston has came out. Well, reports have said that they want Cade, like they've aggressively pursued Cade. Detroit has said in the past that Cade was their guy, that is number one, and Cade on the JJ.
They haven't said it.
No, they actually said that it's a question of whether they're going. Wow.
They said they're going to evaluate every single prospect.
But maybe it's because they want to see what the offers
are.
Yeah,
because well, that was the only guy they gave a workout to, Cade. If I'm not mistaken,
that was the only workout that Cade attended.
That's weird.
He didn't attend anybody else.
So people else assume, okay.
Nah, Cade's lit for that. He said, "I'm going."
Well, because he said on the JJ Redick podcast, he said when I get he said it like he was like as if he knew already that he was going number one already. So as if they made contact with him and they talked to him.
No, Cade knows he's going number one.
We just don't know.
Doesn't know where.
And it's interesting because, like you said, you look at Houston's landmark, and KPJ tweeted the other day, "I'm a true point guard," and I don't think he is. I think he's a 2 guard. I think his natural habitat is scoring the ball. I think he can be versatile, but I think he's better fitted at the 2. And Cade, I watched a lot of him in college. I feel like his natural ability is controlling the game, being that 1. I think he just played in the post to play because he was the biggest guy on the team. And Houston, like you said, John Wall at the 1, KPG at the 2, Cade can play the 3, so throw him at the 3. That would be a good tandem. But even then with Detroit, Killian Hayes, Cade, Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey, that's a good big team too.
That's really good, but also I do think Jalen Green on Detroit may fit a little bit better because now you have Killian.
But do you trust in Killian? That's just based on your trust.
I trust in Green though. This is the thing. Killian, Green, Sadiq Bey now is a 3. Grant is the 4, and now at 5, whoever it is, whether it's Isaiah Stewart or Mason Plumlee, it makes sense there.
But I
feel like Green is a more natural fit, and if they get picks 23 and 24, now you add more young talent. Right. They could go out at pick 23 and maybe get a Trey Murphy or an Isaiah Jackson or one of these other prospects, maybe a Chris Duarte who's old, who what you're gonna get out of him.
He'll probably go to LA.
Maybe Sharif Cooper. They could bank on Sharif Cooper
to be a backup.
If Killian doesn't work out.
Do you want to pass on this generational talent in Cade the fact of how dynamic he could be as a ball player, do you really want to give that up for someone who is obviously amazing at this one thing that he is, but is really to a degree one-dimensional?
No, I don't think it's absurd because I think Jalen Green is going to be an all-star player. I think he can lead the league in scoring one day. That's how good I think Jalen Green can be.
I agree.
And if the Pistons, right now don't have
really good,
a lot of young talent. They have Killian, Stewart, and Bay. That's really it.
That's why I feel as if they should. Detroit hasn't had a lot going for them for years.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Pistons have those three main guys. Yes, they have other guys like Frank Jackson and Josh Jackson showed some flashes. I'm blanking on another young guy they have.
Saban Lee.
Yeah, Saban Lee.
Yeah.
So the thing is with the Pistons right now, they want to acquire young talent. If they can get Jalen Green and get picks 23 and 24, this draft is not a 5-man draft. This draft is loaded on the back end of the draft. They can get a foreign guy like Rocco Prokis, and they could get a guy like that.
They also traded for Hamidou Diallo.
Yeah, they can. He's a free agent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, restricted free agent.
Usman.
Yeah, they can get Usman Garuba. They can get a lot of really talented players, and I mean, it wouldn't be bad. I think they would bank on assets.
I told you.
I think this draft is good, and somebody sent me this trade idea. Let me get the name real quick so I can shout him out real quick because he sent me this idea. He hit me up on Instagram and he said, I think this would be a trade idea for the Rockets to go one. His name is Jeff. The Rockets get Jeremy Lamb and Edmund Summer.
Oh, this is with Indiana involved.
Yes, and they get the first overall pick and Detroit's second overall pick. The Pistons get second round pick. The Pistons get the 13th pick in the draft, which belongs to Indiana, the second pick, which belongs to Houston, and the 24th pick, which belongs to Houston. And the Pacers get Eric Gordon, Daniel House, and like a second round pick.
I don't think Detroit would say yeah.
Can you repeat it one more time? I'm sorry, bro.
The Pistons would get the second pick, the 13th pick, and the 24th pick.
Okay.
The Rockets would get Jeremy Lamb, Edmund Summer, the first pick, and the second round pick.
Three-team trade, okay.
And the Pacers would get Eric Gordon and Daniel House.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Detroit was getting the 13th pick.
Mm-hmm. No, Detroit.
They are the second, 13th.
Yeah, but without. I thought you.
So they're getting
for
three
them to do the
first-round
trade.
picks.
They have to get.
They're getting one. They're getting the second. They're getting in the teens, a still lottery pick, and they're getting a pick in the 20s.
Yeah, my fault. I didn't hear the second. That's why I was like. 13.
So they could go out. They could get Jalen Green. Then they could get a guy like Jalen Johnson. Maybe he falls there, or Josh Giddey, who has a similar skill set to Cade, but not as dominant, of course. There's a lot of opportunities here.
That's not a bad trade. Now that I heard the second pick.
And the Pacers get Eric Gordon and Daniel House.
So they're just trying to back in on scoring and defense.
The Pacers have said that they want to get a veteran player.
Okay.
So
Eric
Gordon off the bench for Karis LeVert.
Daniel House
off the bench.
I like that trade a lot.
And you know what's funny about Indiana? A lot of their guys are young. Brogdon's the oldest at 27, but you got Sabonis 24, LeVert 26, TJ's 25. I think Turner's about 24. So they got young talent. Detroit, you get the second and you get the 13th pick. That's a good draft. You know, you still get your guy. Because I think either one is their guy regardless. And then at 13, you can get another guy because this draft, like we said, it's loaded. And Houston, they get their guy. You know, you bring in Cade. Now it's like, all right,
we got time now.
Let's rebuild. We got him. We got KPG.
That lineup would be nice, actually. Christian Wood.
I wish I lived in Houston.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm a Houston fan.
Houston's
you know, wherever Cade gets drafted, I'm a fan.
I've heard you say that how many times about how many different spots.
But you know that's one of my favorite players. So wherever Cade gets drafted.
True. That's very true.
Yeah,
I'm already a Houston fan.
I'll give you that
Didn't you drop Schiff?
I never dropped Schiff. I love the Houston Rockets.
I thought you said when Harden was gone, I'm gone.
No, I said wherever Harden's going to, I'm going to.
So you're still rocking with Houston.
So I like Houston, yes. I'm a fan of their – I became a Houston fan because their uniforms were dope. The 2010s, I think they changed the uniforms.
Oh, the Chinese ones?
No, not Chinese ones. They were like
they used
white.
To be like,
they had stripes.
Wasn't there alternates like Chinese?
Yeah, they did have those.
Those were dope.
Yeah,
the old red ones with the they played Golden State with those. Those were fire.
So that's why I became a Houston fan when they had Kevin Martin, Kyle Lowry,
Kevin Martin was a buck.
He was pretty good.
Yeah, Kevin Martin was really good. It was a pivotal trade piece in that OKC for Harden trade. OKC Harden trade.
He was like
Sean Marion, but like jumping sideways.
A guy that you love, Collin Sexton, is on the trade block The Cavaliers have said that he is very available in trade talks.
They don't love him like I do.
This is not a secret. They don't want Colin Sexton anymore. This is what they are saying.
Yeah.
And so far, Shams reported that the Knicks are the most aggressive suitor
Say that a little bit happier.
for
dude.
Colin Sexton. And I don't know how to feel about this because I think Colin Sexton is good. I don't think he's as good as his stats say. I don't think he's a fit for the Knicks. The Knicks need a point guard general-like guy. Colin Sexton is not that. He's just going to take away shots from a guy in RJ who's already better than him. And it's just going to knock RJ's development. And that's why I don't really want Sexton on the team. I think we can sign a veteran point guard, keep RJ, Mitch, Randall, and run it back. We'd be fine.
Oh my
But
god!
I also
you think RJ already right now is better than Sexton?
no doubt about it, 100%.
No doubt about it. Kills me.
Colin
every time.
Sexton to me, I don't want to knock him. I think he's the most mysterious player in the NBA because he's either godlike to some fans and he's complete trash, the volume scorer who's a stat pattern to other teams. He's only 22 years old. He's averaging 24 points,
He's a
3
year
rebounds,
older than RJ.
4 assists, 2 years older. He's shooting 47% from the field and 37% from 3. And I just don't get this fascination with Cleveland of wanting to trade Sexton. If they don't draft Jalen Green, there's no reason to get rid of Sexton. There's really not. You can have a good lineup out there of Garland, Sexton, Okoro, Mobley, Allen. That's not too bad. If you're not getting Jalen Green, there's no reason to just trade Colin Sexton. Maybe it's because they already know they're not going to re-sign him. So they're like, okay, let's just get whatever we can get from him right now because his trade value is not going to increase after this year because he's not coming back anyway. And I just want to say this. There have been a lot of players that have been victims of being empty stat patterns. Devin Booker was one of them. He's in the NBA Finals right now. Bradley Beal is going through that right now. Zach LaVine as well. So these guys have all been victims of putting up empty stats because they've been on losing teams. Maybe that's Colin Sexton. I'm not sure if that is. The Knicks being front runners for Sexton does scare me because I think we have to be patient. We have to be waiting for a star free agent, a real star, not Colin Sexton star, and just be patient. And I think trading for Colin right now is a short-sighted move unless the trade package is OB, Knox, and one, not both, one of our first-round picks. Because Knox is a bust. OB, he's just OB. You know, he's okay. And one of the first-round picks, you can part ways with it for Sexton.
Yep.
Because if that's a trade package, that shows me that the Knicks aren't committed to Sexton long-term. We're just going to see how it works this season, how he fits, and then we'll move on from there. And I still want to keep one of the picks because even when drafting Sexton, not even that, even with drafting Sexton, we need to draft Cam Thomas. Just in case Sexton leaves, now we have a professional scorer in Thomas who can fill that role automatically.
You know, I'm actually pretty shocked that you're not high on this Colin Sexton thing with your coach being Tom Thibodeau. You know, it actually boggles my mind. You know, the mindset Colin Sexton has and the work ethic, you know, the toughness, it really reminds me of a Tom Thibodeau thing. Like, he seems to me like a Tom Thibodeau guy. He works hard. He plays hard. He gives it his all on both ends of the floor. He's the first guy in the gym. He's the last guy out the gym. He's a young player. You know, he wants to get better. You've seen it. Like, so it's I think in New York, it can work. Now, am I saying he's a max guy? Hell no. I'm not saying that. He's not a 28, 25, $22 million guy.
22?
No. But I'm no.
I don't know about that.
Dude,
No,
we did it last show. I won't keep
I'm not.
being a dead
I wouldn't pay him
horse.
more than John Collins. That's just me though. I wouldn't do it.
You said you wouldn't give John Collins 20 either.
Exactly. I wouldn't give neither of them $20 million. But let me finish. Well, Colin Sexton, I think New York is a great spot for him to show his worth. Because as of right now, obviously, he's known as a ball hogger, a guy who just holds the ball. He's just a shot chucker, a volume shooter. I think New York is a great opportunity, and I don't even think he'll take shots away from RJ. I think he'll kind of open up the floor for RJ because I feel like with Tom Thibodeau being there, that is a coach where he respects. That is a coach where he'll learn to adapt, and that is a coach where he'll be able to play under. And he's not a bad shooter. You know, he's improved in his shooting since he walked in the NBA. I think he'll go back to his natural position. in New York, and I think that's a good pickup because it's like he's on a, like you said, it's a rental. You guys are gonna. I feel like you guys are gonna make the playoffs again with Colin. That'll definitely solidify that, and you can definitely see how it goes with him and Randall being 20-point scorers. I think that'll open up RJ Barrett's game a lot
100%.
more because Collin Sexton is also a guy who can score and he can shoot the ball. You just still need a point guard because I don't think Colin should play the 1. I think he's more of a 2. And you kind of need like a Lonzo Ball type of guy, a guy who can play make. But I think, New York with the Garden and the toughness of New York City, I think that's honestly the perfect spot for Collin Sexton and his mental to go thrive and show what type of player he really is.
I definitely agree with what you're saying, that they need more of a 1 than a 2. My thing is, I've been on the side that he really didn't have much to go off of on Cleveland to really pass the ball. It was him, Garland. Other than that, they really didn't have many scorers on that team. He was the primary ball scorer. Now, should the Knicks trade for him? That's an interesting question. I feel like for what you said, that package, Obi, Kevin Knox, I would even go as far to say the 2 first, they don't hurt me that bad because you're getting Collin Sexton, a guy.
What about Obi and the 2 first? Or Knox and the 2 first?
That sounds better.
Yeah, because Knox, he's gone. Like we can all agree he's
that's
done.
Obvious. That's obvious.
But Knox and the 2 pick, I think that's like all right. Like we could do that. We still keep Obi.
That is a very firm price, especially for the fact, like you mentioned, it would just open up the court for RJ a lot more. And there's not that much pressure on him as the 3rd option. He's going to get his because obviously the defense is focused on him. Defense is focused on Randall, who was just 2nd-team All-NBA. RJ, he would benefit from this a lot because, one, he's not going to have the pressure of having to be that primary ball handler. And you get a guy like Sexton who actually would get some weapons with RJ, with Julius Randle. I expect him to be more willing to pass the ball to those guys as opposed to a young Okoro or a Jared Allen who really is not that much of an offensive guy. Kevin Love, who is in and out of the lineup, who definitely, when he's in the lineup, is very solid, but you really couldn't bank on him too much last season. I just think that the Cavaliers themselves are undervaluing what he has done for the team. He's only improved since coming into the league for them. He went from 16 points a game to 24.3 in just 2 seasons. I understand the assist thing, but he's the Energizer Bunny. Dude has a full tank of gas every single game. There's not many players like that right now in our league that are going from start to finish. And I feel like for that price, the Knicks would have to do a trade like that.
Collin Sexton and Kevin Love don't get along. It's really well documented that they have beef. Kevin Love specifically with Collin Sexton, he just doesn't like Collin Sexton for some reason.
Doesn't like his game.
Do you know why?
I don't know why.
I think he just doesn't like his game.
Kevin Love doesn't like his game. That's
Kevin
interesting.
Love. There was a report that came out with the Cavs. I think last year that teammates on the Cavaliers are frustrated with Collin Sexton not passing the ball and dominating the ball, and it was obviously Kevin Love who leaked that, and it was Kevin Love's opinion, not the team's opinion. So Kevin Love and Sexton already have beef.
Do you agree with what I'm saying though? That
I'll say this: I do agree with what you're saying, and you made an excellent point. It convinced me somewhat because we've seen that when players go to new situations and start to thrive, the narrative around them changes. I think Collin Sexton to this point has been a victim of a lot of false narratives. For example, Julius Randle before coming to New York wasn't viewed as an all-star guy.
Right.
His first season in New York was a flop. Thibodeau comes in, changes the culture. Randle is now an all-star. Randle is now a guy who you can get legitimate pieces for in a trade. If the Knicks traded him last year, you'd be lucky if you get Buddy Hield for him. But this year, Randle has played at an all-NBA level. Who's to say that Collin Sexton could come to New York, play great, change the narrative around his name? He shows that he's a great defender. He shows that he's a great scorer. He performs in these high-leverage moments because the Knicks will be on more nationally televised games next year because we're going to be good. And Collin Sexton starts to change the narrative around his name, and now the Knicks have a player in Sexton who trade value is through the roof. Teams now are saying, this guy is good. I can't believe we thought he was only worth Kevin Knox, Obi Toppin, and picks because he's worth way more than this.
I agree.
Collin Sexton, if he plays well with the Knicks, he can change the entire narrative around his name, which then enhances his trade value down the road. So even if the Knicks do pay Sexton, they do pay Randle. If Sexton shows out in New York, especially in the playoffs, we can get something back from him and maybe still get a max free agent in free agency. So I don't think this would be totally bad. You sold me on the idea a little bit.
Well, wait. But if he plays great in the playoffs, you wouldn't want to keep him?
I do. I would want to re-sign him, but I know because he's played great, now he has that trade value. Right. If a star does become available via trade, look, we got Sexton. We could trade for your guy. But, Zion becomes available. Look, we'll trade you Zion. We'll trade you Sexton for Zion.
Like a sign and trade type situation?
No, we'll just re-sign him, and let's say it's a 4-year deal. Let's say on the second year of the deal, a mega free agent, a mega player, star player becomes available.
Question.
Now,
loyalty.
Sexton could be that bargaining chip.
Let me ask you a question because that free agency coming in is the mega stars, but it is the old stars. Not Bradley Beal. He's not old, but he's over 26, 27. You got Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. You got those guys. So I asked you. We talked about it a couple shows ago. You're not banking on one guy unless two come to play with you.
Yes.
So, being as if Collin Sexton is 22 years old, R.J. Barrett is turning 21, or he is 21, I don't remember which one, and Julius Randle is 26 years old, would you rather just stick with Collin and R.J. if, hypothetically, they perform in the playoffs, two young guys, like extremely young, and just get one star and just ship out Randle, or ride with all three, or ship out Sexton and Randle and bring in two other stars?
I would ship out Sexton and Randle for two other stars, but I do think that with Sexton, RJ, Randle, Defensive Player of the Year nominee, and Mitchell Robinson
quickly
next year going to be there quickly off the bench, and point guard, we just need a floor general point guard. If we could get a guy like Kyle Lowry in free agency, and now you have Lowry, Sexton, RJ, Randle, Mitch, I think now we're talking, or even a Mike Conley. I think that would be way better. I know that some people may be sad because Emmanuel Quickley did show flashes rookie season, but I'm not saying Quickley can't get better. But I thought his ceiling was a Lou Williams type of player.
I think Jordan Clarkson is a fair.
I don't view Quickley as a guy who I'm.
Somebody called him Steph Curry.
Lou Will's high praise.
I know you're talking about
Kevin the Addict.
I don't think Quickley is going to be an all-star caliber player. I think he's going to be a very good player for a long time, a solid NBA player. I just don't necessarily see that all-star potential in this game.
Do you see him as like a Fred VanVleet?
That's very possible. A
guy who can get that money and still be a starter consistent.
But he has to be a great defender for that to happen.
But how do the Knicks make it work long-term if they trade for Sexton, bring in a guy like Kyle Lowry?
Lowry will retire sooner rather than later.
But my point being is Sexton's going to ask for the max after this season. But what happens then? You would be paying a max to Kyle Lowry, I'm assuming. You're
close to it, not the max. Close to it.
You'd be paying borderline a max to probably a max after being second team All NBA and Julius Randle. It's just, the long term of that. I don't know how you can make that work.
I think it works because Kyle Lowry at most is a 2-year deal. Collin Sexton, that's the thing, right? Because the Knicks have to make a decision whether they want to bring back Randle and re-sign Sexton if he does get traded to the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is no big-time free agent for the Knicks to get, you have to re-sign them. Mm-hmm. Because the same thing that Utah went through, you can't just trade away Rudy because then you're not a great team anymore.
Yeah.
The Knicks, if they trade Randle now for like whatever pieces, like young players, we're not a playoff team anymore. If we have Sexton and Randle and we achieve a certain level of success in the playoffs, getting rid of those two or even one, we're not the same team anymore. Mm-hmm. So you have to go all in or not go in at all, which is why that if we bring in Sexton, we have to pay him, we have to pay Julius, and we just have to hope that they continue being great players for the opportunity of maybe when a star player does become available via trade, we have those players as bargaining chips to negotiate for those star players. And I think as long as Randle plays at this level, he's going to have a market. Collin Sexton right now, his market is low, but in New York, if he changes the perception around his name, his market will be a lot higher than what it is now, and we can get a lot back for him as well.
And do you think it would hinder the development of RJ if you brought in Kyle Lowry and Sexton?
Sexton, yeah. With Lowry or like a Conley, no, because they know how to get RJ to his spots.
Okay.
They know how to run the show, and RJ's gonna benefit from playing with the floor general point guard. RJ to this point has not played with a point guard yet.
Mm-hmm.
So playing with a Lowry or a Conley or even Alonzo would benefit his game a lot.
Tremendously.
I find it difficult for RJ in this whole thing. It's especially if you're trying to build a team for the future. I like RJ's his potential. I think he has a high ceiling. It's just that when you try to formulate this championship team, it kind of gets lost. You have Randall, he'd be your one. You bring in Sexton, he'd be the number 2 option scoring wise, in my opinion.
Maybe it might be RJ.
That's hard to say. It's definitely possible with what RJ has shown from year 1 to year 2. Then you bring in a guy like Kyle Lowry now. Now we're looking at RJ as a potential 3 or 4 option on this squad.
No, Lowry comes, he's definitely the 4th option. Lowry's going to take that back seat.
Is it smart for you guys to let him take that back seat, though?
Yes, absolutely, to develop RJ, absolutely.
But you're in win now mode.
Correct. At that point, you'd be going all in.
When you're in win now mode, development comes after. And I think with RJ Barrett, he's going to have to learn kind of on the fly instead of learning the opposite way.
Correct.
And with Kyle Lowry, you kind of like need him to be like.
With the Raptors.
That is true.
Siakam, Kawhi were the 2 leading scorers for their team. Van Vliet was very close to Lowry's point per game average. Mm-hmm. They didn't have another player that can really put the ball in a basket like that consistently. In New York, Kyle Lowry is going to know that, okay, Randall, Sexton, 1, 2, RJ, 3. Because I don't think there's a gap between Sexton and RJ. I think it's pretty close. Because of that, Kyle Lowry is going to know what to do, and he's going to be a floor general. Are there games where Kyle Lowry says, okay, I have to drop 20 tonight? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we've seen him, even in the playoffs, he's perfectly fine dropping 12 with 8 assists. He's perfectly fine dropping 10 and 10 a night and just playing great defense. He can do that. I think he knows how to take a back seat. That's why it's important that we get a floor general point guard, and that's why Lonzo may not be the best fit, because Lonzo is still trying to prove himself. So going to New York, he's going to be like, okay, I need to get mine as well. Whereas Conley, Lowry, they've made their money, they've made their impact. They just want to win. Mm-hmm. So whatever it takes to win, they're going to do what it takes to win. And I think with the Knicks having RJ, Sexton, and Randall, those will be the 3 options scoring. And now you just get a pass first point guard.
Okay.
In Lowry or Conley.
I like it. So we're all in agreement that Sexton would be a good fit in New York.
I don't know about good fit.
I think he'd
be a good player for them.
Okay. Now that I'm thinking about it, with what the Knicks want to go for the package, it's a no-brainer. You have to do that deal because you're upgrading. Him. It's just that the Knicks want to go all in on RJ being one of their guys for years to come. And I understand he's shown flashes of that for sure in the regular season. It's just when you bring in a guy like Sexton, who has up until this point been a primary ball-dominant type player, RJ is not going to want to settle into that role of being a spot-up shooter or getting the ball. And you know what I'm trying to say? You already have that guy with Randall that he's going to be an isolation ball. You're going to bring in a guy like Sexton who's going to be isolation ball. It's going to be a lot of isolation basketball, and it's been proven. Other than even Golden State, they moved off ball. They went and got open looks that way. With Houston, isolation basketball really didn't work, regardless of the scores that
it did. Yes, it did.
But it didn't win a championship, is what I'm trying to say.
There's a difference between working and winning a championship.
A championship, ultimately, for me, means worked.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay.
In my opinion.
I think it worked in the regular season.
Definitely, no,
in the
for
playoffs,
sure.
They took Golden State to 7. It definitely worked.
It worked for the most part.
A better point for you to make.
But it can fail you easier than having an actual system where you're...
Okay. How many systems move the ball, don't win a championship every year?
But how often have we seen isolation basketball win championships?
Never?
Almost never.
Okay, but Golden State, the way they move the ball, that's one of a kind.
Well, Spurs.
Spurs too. No teams in history have moved the ball like that.
Bulls?
No. That's a
triangle.
Triangle's
different.
But you're still moving the basket.
That's not the same. That's not the same system. A better point for you to make would be the Knicks don't have James Harden. Because James Harden is the best isolation scorer in the history of the game.
But isn't RJ supposed to be Baby Harden?
No?
What the hell?
Wasn't his draft comp when he came
No.
up James Harden? Then who was his draft comp?
Kawhi, I think.
No, it wasn't Kawhi. It was more Jimmy Butler. It was within those guys.
It's a wing guy.
Yeah.
It's not
Definitely not James Harden.
Yeah,
He didn't even play like him in college.
Yeah, that was crazy.
No, yeah.
So then at that point, I mean, but like to my point, it would be a lot of isolation basketball, and then it wouldn't be something that the Knicks really would want at that point.
It depends. Like, that's why getting the point guard is the most important thing, because if you have a Kyle Lowry, Mike Conley, it's not going to be that. That's why that's the most important ingredient to that team. So if you can't get that, you don't get Sexton. And plus, it's really on Thibodeau to change the offensive system to fit these guys.
Right.
You know, like, we know he's a great defensive coach, but now we have to know how great he is offensively, because all we know, his history has shown that, okay, in Chicago, it's just been Derrick Rose. Like, that's it.
Agreed. Yep.
The 76ers have opened up trade talks for a potential trade with Ben Simmons. Maybe they find a suitor, maybe they don't. But the Sixers want an all-star caliber player in return for Simmons. I know you're very high on Simmons. You're under the assumption that, or you're under the belief that you don't want them to trade Simmons.
At this point, they're in win now, and he gives them, unless they're getting a player like Dame, he gives them the best chance right now to win now. And to trade him right now at his lowest value would be foolish. He's been an all-star multiple times in this league already. He's been an all-defensive player multiple times in this league already. He's made an all-NBA team already. And to give up on him at the age of 24 when he's had one hiccup in his moment, which, granted, that hiccup was extremely bad. I just don't understand trying to move him unless you're getting a player like Dame. If you're getting a player like Dame, I 100% understand. He's obviously the better ball player. Obviously, I'm going to take Ben defensively, but other than that, Dame has it in all other aspects. Dame's a little bit smaller than him, but Dame makes up for it, obviously, with his great playmaking, his scoring abilities. But other than that, I just can't see an option right now that would be an upgrade to Ben Simmons. So with that being said, looking into trade options for anything other than Dame makes no sense to me.
Can I ask you a question?
Let's hear it.
Is Ben Simmons a top 30 player in the NBA?
That's tough. I don't think so.
Is he top 35?
I feel like if anything, he cracks 35.
Okay, so for you to say, if it's not Dame, I don't think they should trade him when it's 35 players better
It's a
than
talented league.
It's a little wild. I mean, like, looking at Ben Simmons' game, he hasn't improved on offense in any aspect.
Correct.
He hasn't improved in his ball handling ability. He hasn't improved in his...
Does he really need to improve?
Can I finish?
Apologize,
Thank
but
you.
does he really need to improve?
He hasn't improved in his separation on defenders. He hasn't improved in his midi, his
Correct.
free throw, his
Correct.
three-point percentage. He's actually a little bit digressed as a defender, if we're being completely honest. He's not that one-on-one, lockdown all game type of guy that we thought he was. He's not even the best defender on his team. It's Matisse Thybulle, if we're being honestly realistic. And you're talking about if it's not Dame, it's nobody else, when in fact, you have to build your team around Joel Embiid. He's your superstar. He's the guy you have to build around. Ben Simmons doesn't fit. Seth Curry fits. Tobias Harris fits. Even Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey, those guys fit. George Hill fits. Ben Simmons does not fit around Joel Embiid, and you have to find guys that fit around him. Now, I'm not going to say these guys are better, but like a player like a Zach, a CJ McCollum, guys who can score, shoot the ball, space the floor. Like, not saying those guys in particular, but guys like that. Those guys, even a Bradley Beal would be a great addition for Joel Embiid, a guy who can get a bucket, space the floor, give him the space. You got a guy who missed. He's just hasn't improved in any facet of the game since he's been in the league, and he has a lot of potential. But will he crack it in Philly? I don't think so. I don't think Philly's the place where he's going to crack his potential. He's honestly been worse in Philly, and Philly's a tough city as it is already. And coming off a loss where you were the number one seed in the NBA this year, was dealt with a lot of injuries. This was your opportunity to go to the finals. You lost to Atlanta, where you blew multiple big leads, and you lost at home, Game 7. So I don't see the Ben Simmons hype anymore. He's 24 years old. He's been in the league for 5 years now. It's time to focus on Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is a guy who gets hurt a lot. He's not going to be able to hold up for too much longer. So you got to kind of you have a short window. So I think Ben Simmons should definitely be traded.
Oversight. Bradley Beal, I would 100% do as well.
Even though the interest in Ben Simmons around people on social media has been insanely low, interest around the league has been robust, which means that teams are still very high on Simmons. They know that a star-level talent like Simmons at 24 years old doesn't come along very often, is not often in these trade talks. And the Sixers want an all-star caliber type of player. Obviously, names that come to mind are Dame, CJ, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the list. There's not many all-star caliber players that I think are in the market for Ben Simmons or that the Sixers could get, but I have some names that are just a tick below an all-star. Those are Buddy Hield. I think Buddy Hield wouldn't be too bad in Philly. Maybe Ben Simmons. You could trade Simmons for Buddy Hield.
So your stock is low on Ben.
It is low.
Okay.
But maybe you could trade Ben Simmons and first-round picks for Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton maybe, or Harrison Barnes. Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, that wouldn't be too bad. Malcolm Brogdon also. We know Philly rejected their trade proposal of Brogdon and a first-round pick for Simmons. Maybe they weren't offering the 13th overall pick. Maybe if they offer that 13th overall pick, that changes the tune. A guy I was thinking also was Mike Conley. I think Mike Conley would be great in Philly.
Would that work for Utah, though? Have Ben and Gobert on the floor together?
That's the thing. I think for the Sixers to get Conley, it would be a sign and trade. Ben Simmons to Utah, Conley to Philly. I do think that Ben Simmons and Gobert could be a problem, but I also think that Utah recognizes that, okay, we are not a big market. We have to draft our stars. We have to sign players via free agency, and we're probably not going to sign stars because Utah's not an attractive destination. Our best chance to get a star/superstar level talent is via trade. Ben Simmons is 24 years old. If we get Simmons now, Gobert becomes expendable because we have our defensive anchor in Simmons. But I think even Simmons with Gobert can work because Utah has a bunch of shooters. They have 40% three-point shooters all around the court. Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, Bogdanovich, Jordan Clarkson off the bench. They have shooters. They're good in that area. And Ben Simmons now fills two voids for the Jazz. One of them being that you now have a small ball lineup with Ben Simmons. You can put Gobert off the court. You can put him off the court in these small ball situations and have Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, Bogdanovich, Clarkson, or Ingles, and Ben Simmons. And I also forgot to mention Ingles. He's a great shooter as well. And you fix your problem that now you have a perimeter defender who can actually lock up on the perimeter. Conley was an amazing defender. He's not Ben Simmons on defense. And now Philly gets a floor general point guard who can space a floor, who would be great in the pick and roll with Joel Embiid, and who's a very good defender. So I think that makes a lot of sense for Philly.
Who was the second guy?
Mike Conley for Utah.
Mike Conley and who else? Or is it just Mike Conley for Ben Simmons?
Mike Conley for Ben Simmons straight up. Okay. Maybe a pick could be involved in that
the
trade.
30th pick, so.
But Mike Conley for Ben, and Mike Conley did make the All-Star game. He is an All-Star caliber point guard.
Do you think that makes Philly better as a whole?
At this point.
Yes, it does. It does make them better.
How so?
Because Conley is.
He won't miss up on a dunk.
Conley fits
But
better.
he'll miss time.
I mean, his time missed was the same as Ben Simmons playing, if I'm being honest.
That's mad foul, but funny at the same time.
Conley fits better next to Embiid, and right now, he is on the same level as Ben Simmons as a player. That's just a fact.
Might be a little better.
That's just a fact. Simmons, right now, we're just banking on his potential. We saw what Conley did for Utah this past season. They were the number one seed in the Western Conference. We know what Conley is. Conley has been one of the better point guards in the NBA.
He's consistent.
Underrated. He's consistent. He's going to show up. I also had another trade package. We talk about the Spurs and how they're trying to get rid of DeJounte Murray and Derek White.
This a lot,
Derek White. The Spurs need star talent because right now they don't have a star player. They could trade DeJounte Murray and Derek White for Ben Simmons. Philly gains a defender in DeJounte Murray who can take Ben Simmons' place in that. He's not a very good shooter, which is going to hurt them as well. Probably cause some of the same problems, but not as much because he will shoot and he's aggressive. And then Derek White shoots 35% from three, so he would be a good player off the bench for them. Derek White and DeJounte Murray for Ben Simmons wouldn't be too bad, and Spurs would get an all-star level talent in Simmons.
But do they compete for a championship at this point? This roster does not seem like one that could beat Brooklyn, that can beat Milwaukee.
Well, realistically, that roster that they just had, do you think they can beat Milwaukee or Brooklyn?
If Ben decides to be more aggressive, he gives me a lot more than what these other guys are giving me. I understand what you're saying with Conley. He's a way better shooter than he is. But if Ben can adopt Giannis's mentality, which who knows if he ever will, because Giannis is a one-of-a-kind that we've seen of recent memory that doesn't really shoot the ball necessarily good by any means, but is a head down, drive to the basket. I'm gonna finish this basketball whether you like it or not. If he can take this mentality and just start putting up shots more, if he puts up, I just want to see him put up 15 shots a game. That's not asking too much of him, especially what he's done in the past. He's just deferring to these other guys because he believes that they give them a better chance to win the game than he does, which is incorrect. Obviously, he's a 6'10" guard who's faster than a good majority of the players that he's going up against right now. And like I said, you're undervaluing him a lot. I mean, I understand the Conley thing. That's not the worst thing that I've ever heard, truthfully. But
it shouldn't.
It really isn't. I'm being honest. It really isn't the worst trade package I've heard. But at the same time, you're losing height, you're losing athleticism, you're losing that playmaking ability.
Yeah, but you get it back because Mike Conley.
Wait, for one, Conley is just as good as a playmaker as Ben Simmons.
Just as good as strong.
You think Ben Simmons is an elite playmaker?
You think he's God?
He's a real. Oh my God! Relax.
I think this man is like Messiah.
For one, let's get this straight. Ben Simmons will never adopt Giannis's mindset. That's for one. Ben Simmons is who he is. 18, 8, and 8 is his ceiling. He's not going to magically one day turn into a 25-point per game scorer. Julius Randle could do that, not Ben Simmons.
But when you have Tobias Harris, who's 20+, you have Embiid, who's 30+.
And now you're bringing another shooter.
Ben Simmons defers not because he thinks they give them a better chance to win. Ben Simmons defers because he's not confident in himself.
A little bit of both. I definitely...
And plus, Tobias and Embiid are better scorers than Simmons.
And listen, you will not hear an argument out of me for that. I've been preaching that all playoffs long. He defers because Tobias is the true number 2 and Embiid's the best scorer on the team. However, we have seen when Embiid's out, Ben take that responsibility upon himself.
When Embiid was out, Simmons averaged 18, 8, and 8.
Which is more than what he's actually averaging.
4 points more. So you're not getting an all NBA caliber player. You're still getting
you're at least
higher volume.
You're at least getting the player that you thought you were getting in an aggressive.
What about in the playoffs? Forget everything else.
And I'm with you.
It wasn't just one hiccup. He's had these before.
Not as significant as this.
But against Boston, he wasn't good.
You're saying last year.
He was injured last year.
The year before when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Wasn't the year before when
Terry Rozier lit them up?
No, the year before it was.
It was.
That was the Raptors.
It was the year that Jason Tatum was a rookie.
And Kyrie and Hayward got hurt, and Terry Rozier lit Philly up.
So you're saying 2018?
I guess so.
It was 2018, yeah.
And against Toronto, he didn't play that good either.
Against Toronto, it was Jimmy Butler and Embiid who are the better scorers of the basketball.
That is very true.
That's obvious. And Tobias Harris was on that team too.
That is true. He don't look good on defense either.
Well, we're just saying Ben Simmons' track record in the playoffs has not been good. I'm just saying.
Offensively, yes, but we've seen him be the playmaker where he had 12 assists.
But you can get that with Mike Conley and scoring.
Mike Conley, minus size, gives Philly everything.
And you still have
Simmons
Matisse Thybulle, bro.
Everything is not true.
Yes, minus size. You don't get the rebounding with Conley or as good defense.
You don't really need that.
You still get very good defense with Conley. You get a floor spacer in Conley. You get a playmaker in Conley. You get a guy who.
But is that a championship caliber team?
It's not a championship caliber team with Ben Simmons.
My point being is you have a win now squad. You're not winning now.
Philly gives themselves a better chance to win with Mike Conley than with Ben Simmons right now. Yes, they do. Absolutely.
Kyle Lowry too.
At this point in time, you're undervaluing Ben right now. If you
That's
trade,
what he's shown us.
Mike Conley and him are on the same tier. That's not undervaluing him.
Mike Conley's a really good player. You're acting like he's not.
I'm not disrespecting Mike Conley. It's just that I've seen him get hurt when you need him most. At least
that has nothing to do with how he plays, though.
Okay, but that's still, I take that into account when I'm trading someone who's 24 years old.
Why don't you take Ben Simmons' lack of offense into account? We're talking about
I definitely do.
Philly getting better. You have to.
I definitely do, 100%. When
agree,
you have other
you
scores,
are giving up the size,
athleticism, playmaking abilities.
No, you're not giving up the playmaking because Mike Conley can playmake.
He definitely can, but not on Ben Simmons' level.
I don't think he needs to be playmaking on Ben Simmons' level.
Is giving up athleticism a bad thing?
If you're getting scoring,
wait, hold up. When the Rockets traded Chris Paul to OKC for Westbrook, you could say the same thing. You could say what the Rockets gained in Westbrook in terms of the athleticism and the rebounding and all this other stuff is the same argument you're making that the Phillies losing.
Say that one more time. You lost me for a second.
Houston gained rebounding and athleticism when they got Westbrook,
but they lost that floor general with Chris Paul,
and it was worse. It was
Correct.
much worse.
Okay,
and that's what we're saying. Mike Conley could possibly bring in what Chris Paul brought in for Houston. Not like at the same level.
It's just two different rosters at this point. You know, like the Rockets compared to the 76ers is two different rosters.
Mike Conley and Seth, if you put in Mike Conley with Seth Curry, Tobias Harris, George Hill, Joel Embiid, and them boys, and Shake Milton, those are all shooters.
Maxey Thibault
that can shoot the ball.
Thibault is not a shooter,
but he's a great defender.
He's not a better defender than Ben.
Better
you said that before, and that was cap.
He's a better perimeter defender than Ben Simmons.
What did Thibault really do against Atlanta?
He did better at guarding trade than Ben Simmons.
But
way better.
Way better.
Like
is
way
strong.
better. His primary focus is defense.
Of
so
course,
he puts in all that energy.
He has to.
So he's an elite defender.
I'm not saying he isn't. I'm saying Ben's better than he is.
He's more versatile. I don't think he's better. He's more versatile.
But doesn't that make him better?
No, because Bam's more versatile than Drew Holiday. But is he really a better defender than Drew Holiday? I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Versatility doesn't necessarily mean you're just a better defender. It just means your size helps you
just
cover more.
Doing more on offense.
It's an interesting take.
Just how being more versatile is Westbrook more versatile than Curry? You can make an argument that he is. He's not better than Curry because what Curry does is so far and beyond what Westbrook can do combined than you know what Curry does.
The thing is, Russ thinks that he is an efficient ball scorer, so he takes a bunch of shots. And
I don't think he thinks that.
I think he just doesn't care.
So then, what do you think? Then why does he take all these shots?
Because he thinks he can make them.
Oh, so he thinks he's an efficient ball scorer.
It's not even that. It's not that he thinks
his
he's
confidence
efficient.
is extremely high.
You're that confident in your game.
So Ben, on the other hand, says, "Okay,
he lacks confidence.
I'm not that guy. I know I have guys to do that. I'm going to give up the rock, and I'm going to completely commit to."
Most of Ben Simmons' assists are basic assists. Are assists off of.
And that's such a generic thing to say.
No, it's not because not all assists are made the same. There's a difference between what Trae Young does coming off a pick and roll, making a cross-court pass to the corner, which is a dime, versus Ben Simmons at the top of the key, set a flare screen for Curry, have Curry come off the screen, and Ben Simmons, you just pass. That's a basic assist. Anybody can fill that role.
You act as if Trae Young's never done that in his career.
No, but he does more of the cross-court.
That's not what he does.
I've seen Ben make those passes too. He did it in a game where his guys were missing the shot.
He doesn't do this consistently though. His passes are
because he's not even aggressive. He doesn't even drive to the basket.
His passes are pretty.
When he does drive to the basket, he passes the ball.
His assists are mainly off
him standing at the top of the key and somebody coming off the screen.
That's not a majority of
Draymond assists.
You know exactly. Hold on. His assists come off of flare screens where Seth or Tobias get open, or when he's on the block, he's posting up, he just passes it out to the wing, and somebody shoots. Yeah. That's it. His assists aren't made up of him really doing an exceptional amount of facilitating.
Or putting in much work.
On the offensive
I don't know.
side of the ball.
That last game against Atlanta says otherwise to me.
13 assists.
Exactly my point.
He passed up on a dunk.
But just because those 13 assists, don't show me why those assists work.
That matters.
Agreed, but that's completely not what we're talking about.
But we're talking about Ben Simmons as a whole.
Yes, but we were strictly just talking about playmaking, and you bring up shooting. It's
his playmaking
I'm completely giving up shooting for sure.
You know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna go back and watch that game 7. Look at all of those 13 assists. I will clip each one.
But don't just look at those. Look at the ones that he gave wide open attempts and his guys are missing. Because I remember vividly him driving on a fast break and they collapse on him and he hits a wide.
I seriously doubt
I
gotta see it again.
On a driving layup, they're not gonna collapse on him.
I will clip all 13 assists because You just gave me the number of assists. That's what you're fantasizing over right now. Those 13 assists.
I'm not fantasizing. I'm also understanding that there were moments that he should have had 16, 17 assists.
And there's moments where he should have 20 points.
Agreed.
If Trae Young, if every single pass Trae Young made, his
teammates
made, he'd average like 30
my
assists.
point
That's
being
not
is
really
you're
like an
discrediting his assists.
No. I literally told you I'm going to clip every single one and show you.
He's a really good playmaker, but I think you're exaggerating.
You're making it sound like he's Chris Paul level.
Or like
he's not. He's not even close.
But you're putting Mike Conley on his level. He's not.
Is he even on Steph's level?
No, Mike
as
Conley
a playmaker?
is a better playmaker than Ben.
He's not. What are you saying?
Is he even on Steph's level as a playmaker?
You're comparing an all-time great Steph Curry to
I'm
Ben
comparing
Simmons.
just playmaking.
The thing is, Steph Curry does so many things for the offense that it's unfair to say that he's not better than Ben Simmons.
I know he's better. I'm saying playmaking.
No, I'm gonna take Steph Curry. Of course.
So where do you have Ben? Like top 10 as a playmaker?
Yeah.
Ben Simmons isn't as good as Draymond as a playmaker.
But that's easy to say because he plays with Steph Curry.
Not really.
I mean, Ben plays with a Curry.
Yo, these arguments that you're giving me are like
it's not easy to say because Draymond, we know, is one of the elite playmakers.
He
in the
says
NBA.
it all the time. He's like, why would I shoot the ball when I have Steph Curry on the squad? He's acknowledging the fact that he's blessed to play with the greatest shooter of all time.
Trust me, I've watched every game. He sets Wiseman up. He sets Curry up. He even sets Oubre up.
But who allows all this to happen? Steph Curry.
Agreed. But he still has to make the play.
You know that without Embiid, the Sixers were barely above 500.
They were still in first place when Joel went out.
They already put in that work.
They kept, but they were barely.
But
500.
it could have been very easy for them to fall off, and Brooklyn
they went
or Milwaukee to
11-9
take them
with Ben Simmons and without Embiid, which means they were an average team at best.
So then, why weren't the rest of the squads taking advantage of that time where
they did? Brooklyn did. They were first place.
Brooklyn caught up.
But then when they got injured, they dropped down. But Brooklyn did get in first place.
For what, a game?
Yeah, but then they got injured.
But it always was like a 1.5 game race, always the entire season.
No, it wasn't.
They stayed
Brooklyn
around.
didn't start off too hot.
3.
Brooklyn started off.
I mean, once they got Harden, obviously everything changed.
Yeah, because Harden got them to that level, but then he got hurt, and then they dropped down. But with Simmons, they
stayed around too.
Like I'm saying, you look at the record with Embiid versus with Simmons, the win percentage, there's a big discrepancy. They were barely an average team with Simmons, and Simmons wasn't playing at an all-NBA level. He was averaging 18, 8, and 8, which isn't crazy. Conley right now is giving you 17, 7, and 4. And he's playing in Utah with Donovan Mitchell, who dominates the ball
less points, less rebounds.
No, Conley averaged 17. That's more than Simmons for the year.
But you said 18 you're saying without Embiid.
But we're not going to take, that's a 20-game sample size. We got to talk about the season.
Okay.
Talk about the
Conley
season.
averages more points.
Conley averages more points than Ben Simmons.
Efficient.
Mm-hmm.
He's more efficient, exactly. He
I'm
does all those things better
I won't
than
argue
Simmons.
points. I won't argue scoring. I have never done that when talking about Ben Simmons.
That's what we want out of Ben, bro.
Clearly.
That's
no,
what's going to unlock
I
Philly,
can see.
honestly. And
I see that.
Obviously, he needs to go.
Because Draymond doesn't score, and he's still effective for his squad.
He's one of the greatest defenders in life.
But Ben Simmons is a really good defender.
But he's not.
Ben Simmons is not Draymond
he's
level.
Draymond is like a safety back there, bro. He's like Ed freaking Reed. Like
my point being is you guys give Draymond all this credit, but when it comes to Ben,
when he wasn't playing,
you want to know why? Hold on.
But like I said,
hold on.
He does not play with Steph Curry.
Riv. I'm not gonna even say that. You want to know why we give Draymond this credit? Because
shoot that bullshit.
Not even that. He's won Defensive Player of the Year, and he's dropped 30 points in the finals.
I think it was a triple-double, right?
Wait, hold up. Riv.
But ever since then, what has he done offensively?
Riv.
Yo.
Oh, I'll tell you. 2019, KD goes down. Clay, Dre, Steph, WCF versus the Blazers. Draymond averaged a triple-double, 16, 11, and 11.
Yes, sir.
Dominated the tempo of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Draymond gives you.
He forgets
Draymond.
So what about 2020 Draymond? How many points did he average? Did he average less than double digits?
I will tell you right now. Draymond didn't play the first couple of games. Golden State was the worst defensive team in the league statistically.
No one's arguing his
Draymond
defense.
comes back.
We're arguing Draymond's value.
And they were a top 10 defense for the whole season. The whole season. Draymond was, top 5 in assists in the league as a power forward?
He averaged 7 points
He's not
a game.
Scorer.
So it's okay for you to say that about Draymond, but not Ben.
Ben Simmons was the number 1 overall pick. Draymond was a second rounder, not even supposed to make a roster.
Regardless of that,
And Draymond has had moments where he's hit shots, bro.
Regardless of that fact, he still had been on a championship team because he was surrounded around a bunch of other championship caliber players.
He was one of the main catalysts for that run.
Be honest, you could take him off the squad when it was KD, Clay, and
They
Steph, and they win the championship.
KD without Draymond.
But, okay.
So what does that mean?
If you take Dre out that squad and it's Steph, KD, and Clay, they don't win a championship.
Wait, when did Golden State take off? Was it when Draymond was still coming off the bench, David Lee was starting, or was it when Draymond got starter minutes?
Are you going to say that like Steph Curry isn't the main reason that they're elite?
They all took off at the same time.
My point being is Steph Curry was the main reason Golden State became what they were.
We're not disagreeing with that. Without Draymond, they are not that.
What I said was KD, Clay, and Steph win a championship if Dre's not on the squad.
KD doesn't get to Golden State without Dre.
Okay, that's a true statement, but at the same time, that's not my point.
Can I just tell you Draymond's playoff numbers?
Let's hear it.
13 points, 2 blocks, 2 steals,
He's an
9 assists.
He's an amazing defender.
11 rebounds. Do you know what that is, bro?
He's amazing.
That's
I agree.
Ridiculous, bro.
But my point is, we're giving this credit to Draymond.
This is why I disagree with your arguments, because your arguments are flawed in this aspect. For one, first you mentioned what has Draymond done since Game 7?
Offensively.
Hold up. You said
What year?
Hold up.
Ever since when?
2020, 2021. What has he done?
You didn't let me finish.
Correct.
You didn't let me finish. 2016, I said he dropped 30 in Game 7. You said, what has he done since then? I named you 2019, 3 years later, where he averaged a triple-double and was amazing offensively against the Portland Trailblazers. Obviously, his offense took a backseat because of KD. Not only that, but you're saying they still win a championship with KD, Steph, and Clay.
False.
One, that very well may be false because they don't get past Houston without Dre.
2017?
2017.
I'm asking you, 2017, you're telling me they don't win the championship?
Run the table in 2017. 2018, no, we don't.
No, I agree. I agree.
That's what I'm saying, too. That's like saying, but that's like saying you can't just remove Draymond because without Draymond, they don't go 73-9. Without Draymond, they don't beat that OKC team in 2016, which ultimately makes Kevin Durant go to Golden State. That's like saying, the Lakers would have got Anthony Davis. They would have still won, even though they didn't have Brandon Ingram, Lonzo, and all Josh Hart to trade. They would have still got Anthony Davis. No, you can't just take that away.
Obviously, I'm giving a scenario which I just made up in my head. If you took out Draymond Green,
but that doesn't happen because you have to add context. Because
but I'm giving a made up scenario.
They don't win in 2016. They don't
live in a fantasy for a sec.
We can't do that because it doesn't make sense to the whole story.
If you take out Ben Simmons, you plug in Mike Conley against the Hawks, do Philly win?
That's a good question.
They do.
Like, let's be honest. Come on, bro.
That's a good question.
They went to 7 with him as a liability on offense.
Philly was up 20 points in 2 of those games.
And blew it with Ben Simmons in the game.
Is that Ben's fault? Is only on Ben that they blew that 20-point lead? Not Embiid going cold. Not Tobias going cold. You mean the guy that
had 300 pounds on a bad meniscus? That guy? He was playing on a bad meniscus the whole series.
Okay, but there's multiple facts. So no.
But you just brought that up with LeBron a while ago.
I'm with you.
So
I'm with you.
Dominating.
But now there's multiple layers of why the Sixers lost. It's not just Ben now. We're really seeing it now. Now we're talking.
So how much percent do you give Ben the blame?
I would probably give him 60%.
Oh, so it's irrelevant to talk about anybody else.
My point is, there's a lot more factors of why they lost. There was multiple games of why. Because he wasn't scoring. Like what?
And I'm asking you, plug in a guy who can score, who can play make, who can play defense. They went to 7 with Ben.
60 was a lot. I'm gonna give him 45.
That's still a lot for one guy.
You lose Embiid. You lose Embiid's. You lose the health of Embiid. Obviously, that changed your game. He was your best player all season long. He carried you up until this point, being the 1 seed. Embiid was your best player when healthy. You lose that. You lose. Obviously he was on the court, so there's no excuse to his play at that point. But there's multiple things going on. You had Tobias have that 2-point game that he just was horrible, but somehow they still managed to blame Ben because he was getting hacked.
Ben Simmons averages 10 field goals a game.
no one is debating his offensive abilities.
That's what we care about right now. We know what he can do.
I could see that.
This whole argument started because you think we're undervaluing Ben Simmons.
Correct.
Obviously, we're not, because Mike Conley
Obviously
was an
is a little
all-star. Mike Conley was an all-star. Ben Simmons was an all-star. They were both borderline all-stars. They are on the same tier. That's the only thing we're debating. He asked you a question. If Philly has Mike Conley, do they beat Atlanta? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no because there's still there's other reasons why they lost other than Ben.
I think they do.
I think they do too.
I think they beat him.
Whether
in
you
6.
think not or yes or no, you obviously think no. We think Mike Conley's threat to score would have put Philly over the top in that series. He would have definitely managed the game over. He would have managed the game better than Ben Simmons. We're just saying Conley is on the same tier as Simmons. That's not undervaluing him. If we were to say they should trade him for Derek White or Brogdon straight up, then it would be undervaluing him.
But how old is Mike Conley?
He's 33.
And we've seen him get injured in crucial moments. Ben's 24. So you're going to give up your future to win a championship either this next season or none.
Ben Simmons is not your future anymore because he doesn't fit next to Embiid anymore.
You forget Embiid's window is short, bro.
He doesn't fit next to Embiid.
You know what? That's the most fair argument I've heard today.
Embiid's window is short.
True.
He gets hurt a lot. He's a big dude.
Correct.
His window is short. He's on an MVP tour right now.
So then at that point, why don't you trade Joel Embiid because you're going to get the world for him?
What the fuck?
You're going to get the world for him. You're going to get the world for him. True or false?
You would rather trade Embiid and keep Simmons.
There's nothing I can't get for Joel Embiid.
So you're saying that just because we think they should trade Ben Simmons, you're saying...
No, you're saying Embiid's shelf life's short.
I'm saying his peak might be short because of injuries.
So how many years would you say he has? I apologize to keep cutting you off, but...
I'll give him 3 strong ones.
So 3 years. As Philly right now, who we thought that they had a really good chance to win now, you're giving them 3 years to really win a championship. Is 3 years worth the risk of 8, 10 with someone else with more picks?
8, 10 of possible nothing? Yes.
Because how many picks are you getting?
Wait. Are you banking on...
Riv, I disagree. For one, look. Embiid has those 3 years not because of health, but because his contract's going to be up. Your argument is saying that because we want to trade Ben Simmons, you'd rather just blow it all up. That's what you basically just said.
Not necessarily.
You said trade Embiid.
Because I'm saying you think Embiid's shelf life is shorter than Ben's. I think Embiid's obviously better than Ben in a few things. His scoring's obviously one of them. He's not better defensively. He's not better passing. There's nothing wrong to say that. I mean, that's obvious. That being said, Ben has been shown to be relatively durable. He's had one injury really.
Bro, durability means nothing if you provide nothing on the court in the playoffs, man.
Nothing on the court is strong.
On.
You act as if there's not multiple ways.
Did he have a bad playoffs or no? Yes or no?
If we go back and we look, I started by saying he had a rough playoff showing for sure.
Okay, that's it.
He was
bad in the playoffs.
Was this their best chance to win?
No.
In the past couple of years, absolutely.
Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons,
they played Atlanta.
JJ Redick.
They played Atlanta. Stop.
You're really going to compare this team to Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris,
that team played
Embiid?
Toronto. This team played Atlanta.
Which team gives you a better chance to win?
I said which team had the best chance to win. This team easily.
I don't think they get past Milwaukee. I believe whoever won the Nets Milwaukee series was going to the finals.
Okay, that's fair, but at the same time, they should have got past Atlanta, right?
No doubt.
It wasn't a guarantee that team was going to get past that Toronto team with Kawhi.
But you asked me what their best chance was. My opinion, their best chance was with Jimmy, Joel,
that's crazy,
Tobias, and Ben, and JJ Redick.
So their best chance, not even the finals, their best chance to get to the ECF was versus the team that won a championship.
No, their best
versus a team that
you're asking me which was their best chance to win. Now you're saying the ECF.
They played.
All you said was that Philly that year had a better roster. We know they had a better roster. That doesn't mean
you didn't know that until you asked me the question. I told you.
No,
that.
what we're saying.
No, we know they have a better roster.
But
the road to it, this was an easier road. This was an easier road.
ECF.
This
Correct.
was their best chance. This was
Correct.
an easier road.
If you
We're not
specified
talking
the
about the
ECF,
roster.
I would have said no doubt.
Well, to the finals regardless, because all they had to play was Milwaukee.
But Milwaukee,
That team that you're talking about had to play Toronto and then
but
Milwaukee.
Be real. Do you think that they're beating Milwaukee?
No, but I'm saying though, that team that you're talking about had to play Toronto and then Milwaukee. This
But
team
Philly-
had to play Atlanta.
Go
and
back.
then Milwaukee.
Go back and look. Philly had Milwaukee's number all season
I get what
long.
you're saying, but there's still two elite teams in the East at that time as opposed to Atlanta, which we didn't
But they
think
just
would be
had
here.
a better team at that point, which is why I trusted them more.
And this team had a better team than Atlanta by far. They were
For
the heavy
sure.
favorites.
For
They
sure.
weren't the heavy favorites
No
against
doubt.
Toronto, and they wouldn't have been a heavy favorite against Milwaukee.
For sure.
But they were a heavy favorite against Atlanta.
No doubt.
That's what I'm saying. This road was easier.
But the way you guys worded it was, which one gave you the best chance to win? Like I said, win means championship. So automatically, I'm going to think of the best roster they had.
Okay.
ECF, no doubt. No doubt. They should have won this series in 5. They choked it. Simple.
Who choked it?
The 76ers.
Who else? No, name the guy.
Who's the worst player on the Sixers? The worst at a starting 5.
You guys want to...
No, this series. Who was the worst out of start 5? Honest to God.
It's obviously Ben.
Okay, just wanted to.
Like, do you guys get satisfaction in that? Like, you got...
Just all your guys failed this year. It's funny.
I mean, what about the Suns with you, right? You said all season long, you said Giannis wouldn't be the best player. Like it happens. That's sports takes. There we go. Let's go to the next topic.
The Pelicans just hired Willie Green as a new head coach. They're planning to hire him.
Green.
That's
He's
interesting.
been around the league. He played 12 seasons in the NBA as a role player. He's developed a strong reputation as an assistant in 5 years with Golden State and the Suns. He was a part of Golden State's 2017 and 2018 championship. And on the Suns, we know what he's done with Monty Williams, developing this young team, now in the NBA Finals right now. I think this is the perfect coach for the Pelicans. I think a guy who can develop the players, a guy who has played in the NBA, who can communicate. I think that's much better than Stan Van Gundy. But to be fair, I was listening to Stan Van Gundy talk, and he said that he was surprised he was let go because in the second half of the season, they had a top 15 offense and defense. They were getting better. Because of that, he wished that he would have stayed longer. He also mentioned that Zion is not a coach killer and that there's no ill will between him and the players. And I do think this Pelicans roster does have a lot of talent. They just need a guy who's going to be in the ear and tell them where they need to be, what spots, how they should play, their roles. And I think Willie Green is a perfect coach for that. But also some news, too, is that they are unlikely to match any offer sheet for Lonzo Ball.
I think it was at 20 mil. They're not matching it.
Yeah, what that tells me is that the Pelicans aren't in on Lonzo Ball, but they're also very cheap and not in on this core. I think losing Lonzo Ball would be a mistake, especially when your backup point guards are Kira Lewis Jr. and Eric Bledsoe could be the starting point guard.
Yeah.
It would be a mistake. But nonetheless, Willie Green is going to be the next head coach of the Pelicans, and I think this was a great hire.
Yeah, I agree. And I think getting a player coach with young guys and Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, I think that's huge. Somebody who can relate to them. He's played in the NBA. He's seen the ups and downs. So I think this is a great hire. I do think the Pelicans are making a mistake not bringing Lonzo back. He has great chemistry with Zion, and he has great chemistry with Brandon Ingram. And you saw the improvements this year. They may not be, most improved player of the year improvements, but they were definitely improvements in all aspects of his game. His defense is still there. His playmaking is there. His shooting has improved in the league. So I think that's something that we've seen this year. And it would be a shame because, they have said that they want to trade that pick for some veteran talent. So I don't know where they're going to go with that direction, but I thought that 10th pick could have definitely brought in another guy into that young core because, like you said, this team is talented. I thought they could have definitely competed for a play-in spot last year. I thought they had enough talent. Zion, Brandon Ingram, and Lonzo could have definitely done it. With Stan Van Gundy, you saw a lot of his, in the first half, a lot of his, coaching, he just couldn't put the pieces together. And I think Willie Green understands this team. He's definitely going to unleash this team a lot. It's just about putting pieces that fit Zion and Brandon Ingram together. I think putting those best pieces, more shooting, floor spacing. I don't think, Bledsoe should be playing with these guys. I think they should try to get him out as much as possible. But all in all, this was definitely a good signing.
I'm still teetering on whether I think it's a good signing or not. Because personally, I felt like Jason Kidd would have been a really good option for them. I understand that he already has his deal done with the Mavericks. But I just think of how he helped Giannis develop his game into what it really was. He helped that Milwaukee team become a real defensive force. And I just think right now what the Pelicans need is that aggression on defense. And on top of helping Zion develop his game similarly to how he helped develop Giannis, Lonzo Ball plays similarly to how, no, I wouldn't say exactly similar, but he has some similarities to how Jason Kidd plays. Definitely a good playmaker, definitely cares about defense a lot. I felt like Jason Kidd would definitely been huge in the player development of Lonzo also. And the fact that the Pelicans aren't really all in on Lonzo Ball, the player, when we've seen him only go up in every single averages of his when it comes to shooting, when it comes to scoring. You guys criticize Ben because he's only gone backwards, but then you look at the complete opposite. And Lonzo, he's only gotten better as time's gone on. And, of course, you have that number 2 pick laying on his head, and 14 points is not what you really want out of him. But when you have a 5-tool player like Lonzo, to let him walk because you're not willing to match an option, especially after you traded Anthony Davis for him. He was the main part of that trade at the time, and they were debating between Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma, and they ended up choosing the right guy in Brandon Ingram, of course. But they wanted Lonzo to be the key part of that trade, and to give up on him this early into his career, to me, I feel like that's a huge mistake. Especially he's just gotten so much better, and you see the chemistry that he has with Zion. You see the effort that he gives on defense. He's easily their best defensive player, and then you lose him. What defense do they really have? Again, like I said, the hire, I'm skeptical because you know what? Yes, he's definitely going to bring in a different culture that they need. They need more of the new school type of basketball, and Stan Van Gundy was a little bit too hard-nosed. But I just felt like Jason Kidd would have just helped out the pieces better than this guy.
I think Jason Kidd is a bad coach. That's just me personally. Just from what I've seen with Brooklyn, what I've seen with Milwaukee, Giannis developed. Yeah, that's true.
What about with LA?
Assistant, not really putting too much stock in that, honestly. With Frank Vogel, with Lionel Hollins on that staff, they got a lot of coaching.
Good coaches.
Good coaches on that staff.
In LA.
Jason Kidd has a sub 500 record as an NBA coach. He's got in trouble legally, so he's not responsible. You can't trust him to be responsible. And personally, I just think his development of Giannis is a bit overrated. Giannis was going to develop because he was just a hard worker. That's one. And in terms of the Pelicans' development, I don't know if the Pelicans need development. Zion is developed. He's a great player. He's already an all-star player.
He can't get better than he is.
Yeah, I disagree.
He can get better, but he's not at the stage that Giannis was when Jason Kidd had Giannis. Like, Giannis developed from a player who was the worst on the roster to the best. Zion's already the best. You don't need to develop him much. Brandon Ingram's already an all-star. They just need tutelage. They just need a direction. They just need to know, okay, we're going to play like this. I think having a player's coach suits them a lot. Jason Kidd wouldn't have been bad, but I don't think he's a very good coach. I think Willie Green giving him his first opportunity to prove himself is the right direction because he's been huge in Phoenix. He's been huge in Golden State. And I wouldn't put too much stock on Golden State either because we know that team was absolutely stacked.
You look at Walton, same thing.
And you talk about Ben Simmons moving backwards and Lonzo has been in the opposite direction. That's true. But Lonzo also moving forward, having his career season this past season is as good as Ben Simmons' worst season.
I'm with you.
So
I'm with you.
That, to me, that tells me that, okay, Lonzo is good, but is he $20 million good? I don't think so. I'd much rather not pay him that. But sometimes you got to do it to make your players happy. Zion has already said he wants Lonzo on the team. Because of that, you got to satisfy Zion and bring back Lonzo at whatever price. But Chicago's interested. I think they're going to give him a hefty offer. And also the Clippers are interested. I'm not sure where the Clippers are going to get the cap from.
I think a trade.
Sign and trade possibly.
Reggie's got to go.
Nah, I would say Pat Bev or Luke Kennard.
Luke
Kennard
Pat
needs
Bev.
to go.
16 mil. You could definitely get him out of there.
That contract was
So
horrible.
that wouldn't be too bad, but I think the Pelicans getting Willie Green was good. But now it's about that front office. I'm afraid that the Pelicans front office is going to sabotage Willie Green because they are cheap. They do make dumb trades. They are the ones that built the personnel on this roster, and obviously this is a horrible supporting cast around Ingram and Zion. So I'm afraid that Willie Green is going to kind of get the wrong end of the stick with the Pelicans because they are not a very good front office. They are not a good front office. They are dysfunctional.
You feel good, bro?
I'm sorry. I wouldn't say I disagree, but in a good way, because I think this team does need a little bit of player development, and not with the top guys. I think Zion he still has room to grow in his game in terms of defensive schemes and defensive positioning and just, offensive skill a little bit. But I think Brandon Ingram, like you said, he's kind of developed. I think we'd all agree he's gonna be who he is. This is like who he is, that solid bucket on the wing. But I think guys like Jackson Hayes, who they drafted, Nickel Alexander-Walker, Kira Lewis, even Lonzo Ball still. I think guys like that, those 4 guys are part of that young core, still needs some development. Jackson Hayes, you saw a lot of the time last year. He made a lot of rookie mistakes. Nickel Alexander-Walker, you saw him kind of get into his own. He had some moments, but he's still a tweener. He doesn't know what he is yet. So I think those guys still need some development in the process. But like you said, this front office could hinder Willie Green. This front office is very stupid. It can honestly put Zion out the door because this front office makes very dumb decisions and it is cheap and it doesn't know how to – it doesn't realize what it has and then realize what it has in AD, and it probably won't realize what it has in Zion. These are great generational players for this organization. That's 2 back-to-back that they have. So it can honestly – they can push them out the door, or they can make good moves and keep guys around him. The first mistake was getting Eric Bledsoe. I don't know what they were thinking with that one, but those should be that should be the next move in getting Eric Bledsoe out the door.
But what could they have gotten from Milwaukee other than Eric Bledsoe?
Not make the trade.
They didn't have to trade away George Hill.
You mean Drew Holiday?
Drew Holiday.
No, George Hill. They got George Hill and Bledsoe. They traded George Hill to OKC for Steven Adams.
Oh, pardon me. Sorry. I was thinking of just Drew Holiday. They didn't have to give up, or they could have done better for Drew Holiday.
I just feel like with the picks that they got, I don't mind the
They're
trade.
Milwaukee picks, though. They're going to be at the bottom.
That's a very good point, but you could use those picks and still leverage for trading up.
Yeah.
Because you look at right now, they have 10. They'll probably have around, picks 20, maybe
They're going to
30.
trade 10.
Exactly, and they could use that and Eric Bledsoe maybe to get another piece. But really, I look at this roster. Definitely, they could use a little bit of help on the bench side of things. But what more could they have done this in going into this offseason? Steven Adams was an awkward fit because obviously he tightens things up down low in the paint, but the roster as a whole, it's got a bunch of talent, especially in that starting lineup. I felt like Stan Van Gundy definitely could have done a little bit more last season with the roster that he had. I had high expectations for the Pelicans going into this season, and they definitely underwhelmed me. So I'm asking you guys, what do you think they really need to add to the squad?
They need floor spacers. They need to trade away Steven Adams because he's
correct.
A clog
I'm with you.
in the paint. They need to find a way to probably just have Bledsoe as a 6-man, not starting.
Okay.
They need to revamp this entire roster.
Those dudes are getting paid $17 million apiece.
Revamp the roster, but keep the core of Zion, Brandon Ingram.
You know who'd be a good
that's
pick?
it.
You know who would have been a good pick
Just
for them
those
at
two?
10?
They have to keep Brandon Ingram and Zion, but they have to surround them with players that fit. They have to get a shooting guard who can space for like
Moses Moody.
Not that bad.
I thought you were on the side of keeping Lonzo. I thought you started the whole thing.
Keeping him for $20 million.
But you said, but I could have swore both of you guys said.
I said not for $20 million.
I mean, even if they do keep Lonzo, they still have to revamp the roster. You need a shooting guard that's not Bledsoe. You need a center that's not
need
Adams.
a shooter.
Sexton could be in play.
He's a shorter Brandon Ingram, man.
Is that bad?
It's not, but it's like you don't want two guys who dominate the ball when Zion is incoming. You know what I'm saying? Then it's like you want to keep unlocking Zion's game. So you want the ball in his hands as much as possible. Brandon Ingram is already there.
Correct.
So bringing in Colin, I would rather want a spot up shooter there or a guy who, is a 3-point threat, like kind of like that moves the like off ball player type. I would want a guy there at the 2 more than a dominant ball handler, if anything. This is my opinion, though.
It's tough for me because I feel like Sexton, I don't want to say that Brandon Ingram's one of those empty stat guys like a Devin Booker was, but is getting to the point where what are you going to do to get me over the top? And I thought going into this season, him and Zion could have made at least a push for that 8 or that 9 or 10, even into the playoff. Anything of that sort, into the play-in, excuse me. to just really be a really great ball scorer, that's Collin Sexton too. And I feel like that's why I would be more on the side of trying to go out and get a Collin Sexton, especially that the Cavaliers seem to be so open to do it. And if you see how it turns out and you're not a fan of Sexton with the roster that you have, you can just let him walk. It's not that it seems as if Cleveland's not looking for that high of a price for him.
What if you let him walk and then that 10th pick that Cleveland got turns into like a stud or a regular star, which could have fit with your team, you know? It would be like just a waste.
But then at that point, I still see them and they'll have a pick next season. And they have a plethora of picks from not only the Lakers, but also the Bucks. And it's like, if that strikes out, they have a lot of years to still put the pieces together.
The Toronto Raptors have a big decision to make this offseason, and Kyle Lowry has a decision as well. If he wants to stay in Toronto or ultimately leave. And with the 4th overall pick, the consensus is that they're going to probably draft Jalen Suggs because they're going to gain in Suggs what they're losing in Kyle Lowry. But in a hypothetical scenario, if they do indeed draft Jonathan Kuminga over Jalen Suggs, maybe they do want to bring back Kyle Lowry because now they don't have that floor general point guard, and now Kyle Lowry comes right back in with Lowry, Fred, Anunoby, Pascal, Kem Birch, and then off the bench you have Boucher, Trent, and Kuminga.
You gotta bring Trent
and Malachi Flynn as well. So that's not out of the question, and I think Kyle Lowry, it's not a done deal that he's going to leave. It's not also a done deal that he's going to stay. And if it were me, if they're going to draft Kuminga, I would lean towards bringing back Kyle Lowry. But also I think that Kyle Lowry is not going to go for nothing. He's been loyal to the city. They didn't trade him at the trade deadline. Who knows why? Maybe because they know they're gonna negotiate a deal where he's gonna come back. But Kyle Lowry definitely won't leave for nothing. I think he will do right by them. If he does want to leave, he's gonna negotiate a sign and trade so Toronto can get something back for him. For example, if they do a sign and trade with Philly, they can get a lot back for him. I think they can get a lot of pieces back for him. So I think this is a big decision to make whether Kyle Lowry does indeed stay in Toronto or not. If they draft Kuminga, I'm leaning towards he's going to stay. If they draft Suggs, I think he is gone.
I agree. And I think they want to do right by Kyle Lowry. And I think Kyle Lowry's at a position where he wants to at least compete for another championship yet again. So I think a sign and trade will probably be in the best interest for them. If, because they are, I know they're in the best interest to fulfill Kyle Lowry's wishes. And if he chooses to want to play somewhere else, a sign and trade would matter. But I think, like you said, it also depends, because if they do end up picking Kuminga, I think bringing Kyle Lowry back would be the best bet. But if they do pick Suggs, I feel like Kyle Lowry is just going to be in the sign and trade. You could still get something back. You're not going to let Kyle Lowry walk for nothing. I think that's good with Toronto. They're smart with what they do. And Masai, he's really good at this. So I think that's going to be huge for them. But it really just depends on their direction in the draft. Suggs, Kyle Lowry walks, Kuminga, Kyle Lowry stays, because if Kuminga stays, you want to keep that point guard, 2-guard tandem of Lowry and Van Vliet because Kuminga's not going to be ready on day one. And if Suggs comes in, you at least get that Gonzaga experience. He's going to be not all the way ready, but he's going to be able to plug in. Or if not, you could play Fred at the 1, Trent at the 2, if you bring Trent Jr. back. So I think they can go with multiple options, but at the end of the day, it's going to be what Kyle Lowry wants because I think he's done enough for that city to earn that respect.
Do we see a possibility where Mobley drops to 4?
I don't. I think top 3 is locked.
No.
I think it's Cade, Green, Mobley, Green interchangeable.
I think Cleveland takes Mobley. If he drops to Cleveland's going to take him.
So even if Sexton gets traded, you don't think that it's a possibility that they...
If Sexton gets traded, the only way Cleveland would get Green is if they go to 2.
Okay.
That's the only way they can get Green.
Okay.
But other than that, they're locked in for Mobley.
Okay. So with that being said, my thought process was, given their draft position, like you mentioned, it is dependent on what they do with that pick. If they draft Mobley, it's a no-brainer. You keep Lowry because you have a nice core that you could actually work with still. But if you get a guy like Jalen Suggs, then you're just showing me that, I'm going in a rebuild type mode. Jalen Suggs is a younger version of Kyle Lowry. Obviously, Kyle Lowry has done more, means more to the city. But I just mean in a purely talent-based opinion, I feel as if Suggs could do a good job of taking over that role of Kyle Lowry. Big shoes to fill, but I think it's definitely possible. But it's hard not to keep saying what you guys are saying. It's the Raptors need to do a good job of trying to maximize this opportunity. It's either you try and keep Lowry and get another player that fits your team. Personally, I wouldn't go Kuminga. I just feel like Suggs is a level above Kuminga. And especially with the
in terms of like IQ?
Correct. And IQ, I just feel like Suggs is a little bit more complete player, personally.
I could see it.
But
he's more developed.
Correct. But it's a tough situation, especially because what Lowry means to the city. Like I said, it's hard to not keep reiterating what you guys are saying. He means a lot to this city. He had put in years. They traded DeRozan. They decided to stick with Lowry. So it's not a foregone conclusion that he's gone. But if you are gonna move on, you need to make sure you have that backup option. You need to make sure that you're not only having that backup option, you're getting proper compensation for a guy like Kyle Lowry. So for me, I feel as if they could somehow miraculously get Mobley, then you stick with Kyle Lowry, you pay him what he wants. But other than that, I feel like that's where I see him going.
They're going Kuminga. They're going to draft Kuminga.
You think so?
I believe so.
Why do you believe that?
The reason why is because the main reason. Toronto is not a free agent destination. They're not going to get a star. They have to trade for one, and that's what they did with Kawhi. They're not going to be drafting this high in a very long time with the roster they have because their roster is good enough to make the playoffs, maybe the play-in, not good enough to win a championship, not bad enough to get a top pick in the draft. Because of that, this is their one chance to get one of the top 5 players in this draft, and this draft is very heavy in that. Jonathan Kuminga, when we talk about ceiling, he has arguably a top 3 ceiling in this draft class. Probably has a higher ceiling than Jalen Green, even though Jalen Green is amazing. They have to bank on a ceiling right now. Jalen Suggs is a guy who is going to come in right away, but he has a high floor, low ceiling. I view him as a Drew Holiday, Mike Conley, Lowry type of player. I don't view him as a Dame, Curry, Chris Paul.
Yeah, okay.
Do you see Kuminga as that?
I see Kuminga as a Paul George. He's an all-NBA talent. Suggs is an all-star. He's going to be a very solid player. I don't think he's an all-NBA talent, especially with how loaded guards are nowadays. Okay. I don't see him being De'Aaron Fox. And De'Aaron Fox
him being John Morant.
I don't see him being John Morant either.
I don't see that either.
I see him being a steady point guard, but never being that all-worldly guy.
Is that Kyle Lowry?
He's not that either, and that's the thing.
You're saying Kyle Lowry isn't.
Kyle Lowry isn't that.
I agree.
Kyle Lowry isn't.
I agree.
We saw with him and DeRozan, it didn't work.
So you would bank on the Kuminga potential.
I would bank on Toronto's development and player development staff to develop Kuminga into a very good player. And because OG Anunoby is starting, you get to ease Kuminga into the game by making him come off the bench early in his career, which is what Siakam did, which is what OG did as well, which is, I believe Kawhi came off the bench too his rookie year. I'm not sure.
Paul George did too.
Paul George came off the bench too. So
Danny Granger.
There have been a lot of players who have come off the bench early in their career, and I think Kuminga could benefit from that a lot. And this Toronto staff, I think, is very good at developing players. Definitely. And you need to shoot for the stars and get an all-NBA talent with this pick. And I think Masai Ujiri recognizes that, and that's why I think he's leaning right now more towards Kuminga than Suggs. I'd even go as far to say that he might be leaning a little bit more towards Barnes than Suggs as well. If we're talking about a truly talent standpoint, Scotty Barnes tested within the 99th percentile of athlete. I mean, his measurements were off the charts. His physical traits, his vertical, his lateral quickness, he tested off the charts. So I think from a pure talent standpoint, Masai Ujiri is probably looking at that and saying, okay, we need to kind of shoot for the stars because we have a very good roster.
So let me ask you, who has the highest ceiling, Scotty or Jalen?
Scotty or Jalen Green?
Yes. No, Jalen Suggs, pardon me.
The thing with me is
that one's tough for me.
I struggle with Scotty because I'm not as high as Scotty as a lot of people are. You talk about their physical traits, Scotty has that, no doubt about it. it's just Scotty's lack of a jump shot. It's just Scotty to me is not the fastest player. Scotty to me doesn't have the best handle. There's nothing that Scotty does that pops out at me outside of being an elite defender. Because of that, it's hard to say if he does improve his handle, if he does improve his jump shot. Could he be an all-star? Absolutely. But I'm not sure if he has a smoother game than Kuminga. I think Kuminga reminds me of a Paul George type of player. He's in that Cam Reddish, Paul George type of mold, whereas Scotty Barnes reminds me more of Draymond, Kyle Anderson, guys like that, like all-around guys.
Jack of all trades.
Yes, but they don't do something elite outside of probably playing defense.
I like it. I think it's solid. So you think okay, so I'm asking you right now. Toronto goes Kuminga.
I think they're going Kuminga.
What about you?
I think Suggs. I feel as if you have even the slightest possibility of Kyle Lowry leaving, you need to find that replacement.
I think Suggs too. I don't think they trust Van Vliet at the 1 for the long-term period.
I don't think so either. Even though they did give him a decent amount of money.
I think
so
he's fit as a 2, just a small ball 2.
I 100% agree with that too.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
For real. It's going to be a great draft.
Yeah.
Really good draft.
One of the bigger names in free agency is John Collins, and he's receiving a lot of interest from these 4 teams, the Mavs, the Heat, the Timberwolves, and the Spurs. In your opinion, which team is the best fit for him that you want to see him go to the most between these 4 teams? The Mavs, Heat, Spurs, and Timberwolves.
The Mavs, Heat.
You want a little more time?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm just Mavs, Heat. I don't like the Heat.
I agree.
I like Mavs.
Like the Mavs.
I really do like that. I really like I'm really vibing to the Luka and John, because I've just seen Trae Young and Collins, and I'm really vibing to the Luka. Nah, I'm saying I really vibing to the Luka and John Collins thing. You know, I like the pick and roll I can imagine right now. And John Collins isn't a bad shooter either. The pick and pop would be beautiful. This is a high flyer, a high leaper, something I think that would really benefit for Luka, some guy who can really leap and get off the floor. Miami, I mean, him and Bam, I feel like Bam kind of does what he do. So it's like I don't really vibe with that. And the Spurs don't have a true point guard to really unlock John Collins, so I wouldn't really bank on that too. What was the other team?
So it's Timberwolves. Spurs.
That can be intriguing too. You know, you got Carl stretched out on the perimeter. You got John. You could put John at the 4. He can space the floor also. You could play a 5 out. D-Lo is a really good point guard with great playmaking instincts. I'm going to say Dallas and Timbs are my top 2.
Anthony Edwards too. What about the Spurs?
I don't like the Spurs.
I agree. I
don't think they have a point guard.
They'd be going backwards a little bit. Like, why would you spend a little bit unnecessary money, especially when you're considering
I don't know their
Murray and White?
Yeah, I don't know their direction right now.
Correct. But I feel like for me, you took every word out of my mouth. I just seen what Collins has meant to Atlanta and the game that Atlanta and that Trae Young and John Collins had run together, and it would be almost identical to what they would be doing in Dallas. You have one of the best playmakers in our game in Luka Doncic, and the size advantage that Luka has on Trae. Obviously, he doesn't have the quickness that Trae has, but the fact that he has as much size as he has on him would allow that tandem of John Collins and him to just be lethal. Like you mentioned, that pick and pop, that pick and roll, it would just be very dynamic in what they could do with that offense. The one thing that would worry me about that is that Porzingis ends up getting lost then, because Porzingis struggled with being the number 2 option and not having the ball in his hands that often. Imagine what it would be being the 3. So
I think, but I think, John, I think John is okay with being a 2, and you can trade Porzingis too.
I feel like John would be okay with being a 3 because he's seen how Bogey and Trae had worked together. He'd seen how DeAndre Hunter had come in and been effective as a scorer as well. So I feel like he knows the role of taking somewhat of a back seat, but still at the same time being able to get his because of how talented he is. I feel like that fit would be perfect. I don't like Miami because I feel like it would get too crowded offensively, especially when we see Bam take such strides in his offensive game. I feel like this would kind of, I don't want to say take confidence away from him, but it would take touches away from him that I feel like he needs to continue to develop his game. I feel like what they need right now is an athletic guard. A guy like Kyle Lowry would be perfect for them because he would fit that hard-nosed defense that Miami has gone for these past few seasons. And I look at the Spurs, like you mentioned, I feel like that would just be a complete opposite move of what I'd expect him to do with the rumors of Murray, the rumors of White getting traded. And the Timberwolves, I like that option a lot too, because it's not like Karl Anthony Towns isn't the best big man shooter there is. So they could have a lot of spacing on that floor with D'Lo, who could shoot the lights out. Anthony Edwards, who's a decent to I don't want to. I'd lean as far as say above average. He could reach above average in his shooting abilities. And then John Collins, who's a really good shooter also, that the spacing that they would have would be amazing. And they could be dominant on the interior as well with Collins' ability to score on the inside. And obviously Karl Anthony's ability to score on the inside. You have D'Lo, who could slash to the basket. You have Anthony Edwards that could slash to the basket. So this would be a really good move. It just would depend on the money that he would be taking, because I don't see him taking less to go to a team like that.
Yeah.
Because he could just stay in Atlanta, take less, and still compete. But I feel like if he's going to leave, he's going to leave for get money. So that's why I feel like the Spurs are even on here at all, because they would offer him the most money by far.
Well, I think Minnesota can compete if they stay healthy.
No doubt.
I think they can play
with
for
Collins
a play-in.
or without.
Both.
Okay.
I think they can compete for a play-in spot. I think they can definitely get it. I think they can be better than what the Spurs were competing for a play-in spot.
Yeah.
They can be better than the Spurs. They have a talented roster with a lot of guys. Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley. So I think they can, Ricky Rubio, I think they can compete. They just have to stay healthy. That's their key. If they're healthy, they can get into a play.
I have a question, but go ahead, Joel.
Across the league, many people believe that John Collins has played his way into a max contract with these playoffs. In 18 playoff games, he has averaged 14 points, 9 rebounds, and shot 36% from the three. Not sure those are max contract numbers, 14 and 9. Definitely not for me, for my taste.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hawks owner, Tony Ressler, has said that Collins will only be back if they have a fair agreement, which means that I don't think he's going to break the bank for Collins. You mentioned the fit with Dallas. I don't think Dallas is a great fit because I think Porzingis already does most of what Collins does. If they do bring in Collins, it's because they're trading away Porzingis. We talk about Miami. I think Miami would be a good fit. We saw this past playoffs, Bam, he's a good defender, but he does lack size. And we saw they weren't able to build the wall on Giannis this past playoffs because they didn't have size. I think John Collins gives them more size and gives them a taller front court, and he would have fit good because he can space the floor as well, with Jimmy being there, with Duncan hopefully coming back, with Bam. And then you look at the T-Wolves. I'm not sure how they're going to get them. They have no cap space. They're paying D'Lo, Malik.
Sign and trade?
Probably. Sign and trade probably, but they're paying D'Lo, Malik, and Towns $20+ million.
Rubio, 17.
That's all of their cap space. The only way I see them trading or getting Collins on that roster next year is if they sign and trade with Atlanta and give up Malik Beasley. I'm not sure if Atlanta does that because they already have Bogey. They already have Cam.
What about giving up Rubio to come off the bench?
They already have DeAndre Hunter, and I'll get into that. Rubio would be the only one because he can come off the bench and be their backup point guard, and then they wouldn't have to draft one in this draft. So they could go with Rubio, but I think Rubio at $17 million per year, and he has a couple years left on his contract, is a bit too much of a hefty price for Collins. The Wolves would have to give me a pick in return, and I'm not sure if the Wolves are in the business of giving up any picks right now.
They don't have any.
I think the Spurs are the best fit. The reason why is because they need star talent. They need a star talent type of player. You have mentioned before that Collins has averaged 20 and 10 before, so you think he has that star potential.
Definitely.
I think that on the Spurs, being the first option, can he average 20 and 10? Can he average 22 and 11? Probably. He can average around that. That's why I think the Spurs are the most likely scenario because John Collins can be that main guy, and I think he wants to be it. He was frustrated with Trae Young being so dominant, even though Trae Young is an elite player. That tells me John Collins feels like he should be in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, he wants to load. And if the Spurs can have a roster of maybe if they get Collins, they don't trade away Murray or Derek White. Murray, Derek White, Keldon Johnson, John Collins, Jacques Pertl, Devin Vassell. That's not too bad.
Well, the thing, like this year, I know Keldon played a lot at the 4. They kind of went small. I'm interested to see how they're going to do it because, bringing in John Collins, who is, he's a young, talented player, and the Spurs have a lot of young guys, not stars, but just a lot of young, good pieces in the organization. So bringing in John Collins is going to be interesting to see how he's going to fit into that offense and how he's going to unlock his game. And like you said with Minnesota, it's going to be hard because they're in cap hell right now. But I think, getting John Collins to sit up there with Cap would be a phenomenal thing for that team. And then they have a big coming off the bench. That's a team that has a lot of talent. I'm in the business of thinking Dallas is going to trade Porzingis. So that's what I think, John Collins would be great there if he trades Porzingis. You get another guy on the perimeter, and then you bring in John Collins. That'd be great for those guys. But, yeah, like you said, John Collins, San Antonio, he'll probably be the star there, and that'll probably be something that they're willing to, keep into their foundation for their future. It's going to be interesting because, like you said, those numbers that you threw up aren't $20 million numbers, 14-9 for a playoff, 18 playoff games. He's had flashes. He's had games where he showed out. But those aren't numbers that's screaming to me $20 million. Like I said before, those are $15, $16 million numbers to me based off the market we're in now. So I don't know. I think the Spurs would probably be the only team that'll break the bank for them because they haven't had a superstar since Kawhi, since Tim Duncan. And Tim Duncan they drafted, Tony Parker they drafted, Manu they drafted, Kawhi they drafted. So they've never really.
LaMarcus?
He wasn't a superstar, but like that's what I was gonna say. Aside from LA, they haven't really brought in any real all-star talent in a free agency. Because they got DeMar in the trade in a very long time. So it's going to, like I said, San Antonio, this will be the first time. So this will be interesting to see.
But the Spurs have a decision to make. You want to get Collins and be stuck in mediocrity or just blow it all up and tank. I mean, I think right now you probably go do it because these upcoming draft classes are going to be stacked.
Really good.
Ridiculous.
With talent.
Definitely.
Because of that, the Spurs probably should go in that direction. Do they? They probably don't. I think Pop has too much pride to just tank and rebuild. I think if Becky Hammond eventually becomes a coach, she would be put in an awful position if they do indeed do that. So that's why I think that they probably are the most likely to go and get John Collins.
Oh, no. I can see what you're saying from that sense, especially with the fact that he denied that first contract that they gave him because he wants to test free agency. He trusted himself to play himself into a contract, and he definitely had flashes of being a guy that deserves max contract numbers. However, with the averages that he has, I'm with you guys. A max seems a little bit much. However, some of you said that caught my eye. The market now is to give a lot of money. That's why I feel as if he'll get around 22 to 25 because of how the market is right now. Someone's going to give him that money. But I just feel like the Mavs situation, you have a guy where he's already shown he can defer to other people, and he felt like, Trae Young wasn't the option. He grew to understand where the coach is coming from, where, okay, Trae is our best scorer 100%. I can live with him having the ball in his hands and the game being the fate of the game being in his hands. So you go into a team where Luka's now that guy. He already has that experience, that understanding where, okay, I'm not the best scorer on my team. There's other guys that need the ball more than I do because when I get the ball, I can be efficient. So I feel like that's why I like the Mavs. It reminds me a lot of Atlanta, and I feel like Mavs would be a little bit more willing to give him some money.
Yeah, and this is going to do it for episode 99 of the podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, you are in luck because you are getting the firsthand experience of a podcast that's just going to be out in terms of just audio.
Mm-hmm.
This probably will be out on YouTube, but there's going to be no video to this podcast whatsoever. So if you listen to it without video anyway, then you're in luck because there's no difference.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that you guys made it this far. If you did, we're glad that you liked the show if you did indeed like it, and we'll see you guys next time.
Take care, y'all.